is this the fastest month of the year or what? Because it's already the 12th day of February 2025. Good morning and welcome to the AM show. We are live from our studio here in Kokomemle, broadcasting to the 16 regions of Ghana and around the world on myjoyonline.com. And we're about to tell you what we have in store for you. But my name is Sweetie Abochi.
And I am Samuel Kojo, President. When I was driving to work today, I was asking myself, have we really thanked God enough? You know, that waking up, coming to work each and every day and without any hassle whatsoever, we just have to say thank you to God for bringing us to another beautiful day. And like I say, it's full of opportunities, but it's only those who are prepared for it that will take advantage. Well, we'll start the show with the AM news. Sutiabochi will do that for you. We'll follow it up with the news review. And then we'll have, on the news review, we have Dr. Kwame Asante, who is head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Joining us, Dr. Jabiru Mohammed, a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. So it looks likely that today is going to, it's not likely, it looks like today is a
day for academics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And after that, of course, we don't leave you sports enthusiasts out. Muftar Nabil Abdullahi will be here to serve you AM Sport, and then we'll get into our big stories. Kojo, what's happening in our big stories today?
Well, so, you know what? President Mahama asked that the Chief of Staff does a setting action, and today Chief of Staff Julius Deborah revokes all appointment and recruitment made into the public service after December 7, 2024. You remember that the party said any appointment after that day, they will revoke them, and they have really done that. It says these last-minute appointments were inconsistent with the government's stated position on end of tenure recruitment. We are asking, will the affected individuals have any remedies, legal or otherwise, for redress?
And also after that, we'll bring you AM Business. Now, today on AM Business, some gold trade experts are cautioning government against cancellation of the gold for oil programs, urging them to rather address the few challenges within that sector. James Ashen will be on that beat and will serve you AM Business today. But folks, this is an invitation to join us with your comments and your thoughts across all social media platforms with your Joy News on TV. And hopefully, at the tail end of the show, when we open the phone lines, you get to have your say. Welcome aboard the AM show. It's the Kojo and Ajo show this morning. Let's start with the AM news now.
Good.
This is the AM news on the AM show. Let's start now. Now, Chief of Staff Julius Deborah has directed the cancellation of all public sector appointment and recruitment made after the 7th of December 2024 general election, citing non-compliance with good governance principles. In a letter to heads of government institutions, he emphasized that such late-term appointments contradict the government's stance on end-of-tenure recruitment, and he instructed institutions to annul these appointments immediately and submit a report on actions taken on the office of the Chief of Staff to the Office of the Chief of Staff by February 17, 2025. Now, the directive reads, and the statement is on your screen right now. It says, consistent with government's pronouncement in relation to near end of tenure appointments and recruitments, I wish to bring to your attention that all appointments and recruitments made in the public services of Ghana after 7th December 2024 are not in compliance with established good governance practices and principles. And that is, of course, coming from the Office of the President. Well, the statement continues to say, accordingly, all heads of government institutions are hereby requested to take the necessary steps to annul any such appointments or recruitment and submit a comprehensive report on the actions taken to this office by 17 February 2025. And your cooperation in this matter is highly appreciated. So that's the statement you have over there coming from the Chief of Staff asking all late-term appointments and recruitment that were made to be terminated. Well, we hear from Felix Kwachiofosu, who is Minister of State for Government Communication.
At the very first meeting of the association, the NDC side had cause to raise concern about the information we are receiving, to the effect that many government departments, ministries, and agencies were engaged in what we refer to at the time as last-minute recruitment, or if you like, near end-of-term recruitments. What was striking about these recruitments was the sheer number, and also the fact that critical steps in the recruitment process were bypassed. We had information, for instance, that there were some people who had been recruited who did not even apply. Others did not go through any interview process. Others did not go through medical examination, which is a requirement in some places. And others yet received backdated appointment letters, which was meant to mislead people into believing that the appointments were made much earlier than they actually were. Now, having stumbled on this information, we reached the government side of the transition team and sought explanation. We also requested that they put these recruitments on hold and allow the incoming government to determine the vacancies, the requirements thereof, and how many of such people could be employed, bearing in mind the effect that it will have on our fiscal position as a government, especially because of the very serious economic challenges that we face. Now, this our request was rebuffed. The government of the day remained intransigent. They insisted that they had the power to do so, despite the obvious irregularities that the processes were fraught with. So, if you recall that on 17 December 2024, I issued a statement in my capacity as a spokesperson of the transition team for the NDC, in which I stated the position of the NDC side of the transition team, which was that if these recruitments did not stop, we will left with no option than to reverse them when eventually we took power. And so, having been in power, we have looked into the matter and found that our suspicions were actually true, and that many of these recruitments were done without recourse to due process. And they have been done in a manner that seeks to undermine the fiscal position and create dislocations within the budget. And so the Chief of Staff has sent word to all these ministries, departments, and agencies to actually reverse these recruitments, pending the use of due process to do any future recruitments that might be.
Moving on, 77-year-old Upper West Regional Vice Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Michael Kwame Mumuni, has won the Council of State elections in the Upper West region. He polled 8 out of 22 votes that were cast to defeat his closest challenger and former Upper West Regional best farmer, John Dima Idrisu. John Dima Idrisu lost by polling 7 votes out of the total 22. Now, the rest of the 9 candidates had a combined vote of 7. And our Joy News Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam tells us more.
22 delegates drawn from the 11 municipal and districts in the Upper West region decided the fate of the 11 persons who have filed to contest the Council of State elections. Before voting started, Upper West Regional Minister Fosun Charles Luwanga delivered a brief speech to the delegates and the candidates on the need to accept the outcome of the elections.
Your duty is to select somebody for us, so you do soul searching as well as make a decision of yourself, and ultimately Upper West will win. 10 of the candidates who were present were each given 5 minutes to campaign and share their vision with the voters. In the end, 67-year-old Upper West Regional Vice Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Michael Kwame Mumuni believers, roamed to victory with 8 out of the 22 votes.
My priority is to look at our roof here. That's my first thing. And look at our dams. That's my second priority. Education too is part of one.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Not sure how I said 77, but it's a 67-year-old man who won that election in the Upper West region. But in other stories, chaos erupted at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly as police blocked aspirant Musa Ziad from entering the polling center, forcing Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu to use an alternative exit. Musa Ziad and 2 other candidates later withdrew. Now, despite the tension, Nene Droloboso Adamte, the first, that's part of his name, the first, he won the Greater Accra Council of State seat with 40 votes, defeating former MP Afoteagbo Nilaye, who secured 16 votes. The remaining candidates got no votes at all. Collins Frimpong reports for Joy News.
That was the scene at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly Hall during the Council of State election. Tensions flared when police officers blocked aspirant Musa Ziad from entering the polling station with his executives. Caught in the midst of the confusion, Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu was forced to use the exit to gain access. Musa Ziad later withdrew from the race, along with 2 other candidates. But what could have led to this decision?
I have 2 reasons why I want to withdraw from the race. One is political. I have my senior colleague, who is Afoteagbo. I mean, I can't contest with a senior colleague like that. So I decided to withdraw out of it. I mean, when we were filing, I didn't see his name.
Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, downplayed the chaos.
Losing election is not an easy thing. I've lost an election before. If you lose, if care is not taken, somebody went to the polling venue with his vehicle. When he lost, he forgot that he brought a vehicle. He was going home. And they had to call him. They said, "Oh, Honorable, you came with a car. The car is here." Before he came for the car. So once elections is taking place and somebody has lost, it's not easy to lose an election. If you don't act, your supporters can do anything.
Once calm was restored, Regional EC Director Gladys Pinkra declared the winner.
By the power vested in me by the Electoral Commission, I declare the throne of Bosokodate the first as a Greater Accra representative of the Council of State.
The remaining 7 candidates had 0 votes. Collins Frimpong for Joy News.
Sometimes it's a wonder if we can hold any elections in this country without a sprinkle of chaos. But in the Ashanti region, some supporters of the chief of Agrek Nzima, Nana Nkansa Buedu, are anticipating their candidate will be declared winner of the Council of State election. A group of thugs believed to be aligned to the NDCs, but Joy News is unable to confirm whether the counting started after the sorting the ballot. But Yao Obimpe disrupted the process, which was at the sorting stage, and Nana Yaojima tells us more.
The police team deployed for the election was led by the Ashanti Regional Commander, DCOP Frank Abrokwa. Some of the officers were stationed at the entrance of the residency of the Regional Coordinating Council, where the election was held. They screened and turned away persons who were not accredited to be at the premises. It was the first point that our cameras caught the thugs who were challenging the authority of the police. One of the 12 candidates for the election, Frederick Ejay, explained the EC restricted delegation of each of the candidates.
Because the EC made it clear to us that each aspirant should come with 4 agents, and the 4 agents, they are going to be allowed to enter the premises. So I don't know where. I even came around, I saw the metro men around. I don't know where they came from. I don't know how they were able to enter because, you know, a lot of policemen were around. I mean, security personnel were around. Even my driver, they didn't allow my driver to enter. And I accepted because the EC said 4 people together with the candidates is going to be allowed to enter the premises.
The thugs were later seen at the inner perimeter where the election was held, though they had no accreditation. Former Municipal Chief Executive of Obuasi, Oforiajiman, was seen with the thugs. They approached the candidates' tents to offer handshake to the NDC Regional Chairman, Nana Kwesi, and another candidate, Yao Obimpe, a former chairman of the party. It was at the sorting stage where these thugs disrupted the process. It is alleged the NDC former chair, Yao Obimpe, was losing the election, leading to the disruption.
In the course of the sorting, we saw that the metro men invaded there were some barricades. So the metro men invaded, and then the chaos started. Everything was disrupted. What they saw, maybe they thought that maybe it may not go in their favor, so they had to, evade. And I think this is very, very bad. This is very bad because looking at how far we've come, how our democracy, we've grown to get to this point, and it's still, anytime we conduct election, we don't, experience this kind of peaceful election. It is very bad.
The men later followed the EC to forcibly take away the polling materials, salvaged and destroyed them. Leading candidates among the 12 are former chairman of the NDC, Yao Obimpe, and member of NPP's Council of Elders, Nana Nkansa Boadu. Prior to the election, the process was characterized by partisan politics. It is speculated that the candidates paid money to the delegates. For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Now, still on the Council of State elections, Paramount Chief of Yeji Traditional Council and former President of the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs, Pim Yao Kagbese V, emerged the winner in the Bono East Regional Council of State member poll. Anas Sabit has the rest of the story.
The Council of State elections, originally scheduled to start at 7 o'clock a.m., kick-started at about 11:30 a.m. due to the late in the arrival of the delegates. The 11 candidates who waited anxiously had divergent views with regards to the starting time, with some expressing disappointments at the huge delay to the commencement of the exercise.
You see, the time is 7 o'clock, and here we are. The president has promised Ghanaians to give the Ghanaians a resetting agenda and then building the Ghana that we all want. I don't think with this attitude we are getting there.
I've been here for more than 2 hours and I'm bothered. I wonder why this should take us so long. This exercise should have been done so fast that other people would go to do other works for themselves.
Voting started at about 11:30 a.m. after the candidates were given the opportunity to share their visions with the 22 delegates who were all seated at a time. One after the other, they were called to cast their ballots, and at the close of polls, the Paramount Chief of the Yeji Traditional Council and former President of the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs, Pim Yao Kagbese V, emerged as the winner after polling 11 of the total votes cast. 76-year-old Pim Yao Kagbese V disclosed to the media his utmost priority of solving the numerous chieftaincy disputes across the region.
I made my message clear that I alone cannot carry the load. I am going to partner with all assembly members, DCs, MPs, and ministers in the region to bring about development in the region.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Tichiman.
Moving on, Upper West Regional Minister, lawyer Posing Charles Launga, has assured the chiefs and people of the Upper West region that he will work assiduously on the challenges faced by the region. Key among them is to work to maintain the region's peace, create employment for the teeming youth, and fix the deplorable roads in the region. He's therefore seeking support of the chiefs and people to ensure that they work to overcome the challenges. Lawyer Posing made the statement when he paid courtesy call on the overlord of Wala State, Nafuseni Seidu Pelpio IV in Wa. Here's more.
The visit of the Upper West Regional Minister, Lawyer Posing Charles Luwanga, to the overlord of the Wala State, Nafuseni Seidu Pelpio IV, is to thank the latter for the massive support given him when he was nominated by President John Dramani Mahama for the position through vetting and subsequent swearing in. It is also to seek his blessing, prayers, and guidance to lead the people of the region. The Wala Overlord, speaking through the Secretary of the Wala Traditional Council, Jimpena Kadir Ibrahim, recorded the admonition by President John Dramani Mahama to him and other ministers during his swearing in. He urged him to let the admonition be his guiding principle.
You must not be arrogant, that you must not also engage in lavish expenditure and other critical issues. Emergency calls on you, Honorable Regional Minister, to pay heed to this admonition by His Excellency the President.
Now, for saying the Philippo IV also touched on what he called the development priorities of the region, which he will want the minister to shoulder through.
We are also aware that last year's farming season was one of the best seasons for us, as we got seriously devastated by the long period of drought. And its impact is also something that may still be on the way to affect us. And His Majesty calls on you, Honorable Regional Minister, to take all the necessary steps to ensure that you provide a buffer for the many farmers who went through this difficulty, especially as we count on the impending rainy season, so that we get things right.
Our Powers Regional Minister, Lawyer Pozun Charles Luwanga, pledged to work assiduously on the concerns raised by the water overload to better the lives of the people.
I know our problems, our road networks, our agricultural systems, our health centers, our water systems, as well as the nature of our security situation within the region. And I've undertaken to work tirelessly with the support of everybody in the region to ensure that Upper West is a peaceful place. We're able to create jobs for the youth and to enable us move forward. The health services, the educational facilities and amenities, as well as security, and then agriculture. And then I assured him that I'll do everything day and night with their support to ensure that I'll go to the institutions that are required to assist us to be able to move the Upper West forward.
The Upper West Regional Minister earlier paid a courtesy call on the Bishop of the Ward Diocese, Most Reverend Francis Bomansang.
I am very happy and excited that we will be working together for the advancement of our own people. I think if I've left where I've left to be home, and you have left where you were to assume this office, is because of the development of our people. We make that move.
The regional minister for the next few weeks will be engaged in visiting chiefs, community and religious leaders to garner their support for the development of the region. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Let's stay up there for a bit because the Northern Regional Minister, Adolf Ali John, beg your pardon, has disclosed that they would audit all uncompleted and abandoned projects before deciding the next line of action. He said as soon as the district chief executives are brought into office, the audit will commence, and projects that would require passes that would pass the test would be completed. The Northern Regional Minister said when he addressed the media after the Council of State elections held in Tamale.
The Northern region, like many other regions in Ghana, are faced with infrastructure deficit ranging from the education sector to the health sector. Even though the country is faced with these challenges, there are several abandoned projects that have been left to rot because new governments have refused to continue with these projects. By speaking in Tamale, the Northern Regional Minister, Adolf Ali John, said they would continue with projects that would pass the audit to ensure value for money.
We will ensure that we look at the project carefully. The technical men will go into these projects, for that matter, audit, to see what the project was actually intended for. Whether it was even necessary. If it was, then it has to be continued. If it wasn't, then we have to get people to come and answer why this project. They must explain to us why that project, if it was not necessary at all. And we also look at the costs, the value of the cost, the value of the project, to see whether it was worth what they said it cost. Because you cannot just award a project at a certain amount, and if we come and look at it and see that no, this project shouldn't get to that amount. Definitely, people must answer why the project was awarded such an amount. Because we need to have value for money. We cannot just award projects anyhow. No. And projects that were awarded after, even after we have lost election, are for those ones, the very contractors who are.
Let's head straight for our business update now with Samuel Kojobrace.
Away from that, a senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, has disclosed that the success of the Ghana gold coin will largely depend on awareness creation and education by the Bank of Ghana. His comment is coming at a time the 2025 banking sector outlook has revealed the Ghana gold coin will help support the city's performance this year as the rate of depreciation against the dollar slows significantly. Speaking to Joy News, Joy Business, Dr. Amwa stated the success or otherwise of the gold coin depends on the central bank.
The gold coin is a product of the Bank of Ghana and not the commercial banks. The commercial banks are just serving as primary dealers to use their distribution channel to sell the gold coin for Bank of Ghana. So the responsibility is more on Bank of Ghana to do the education. Don't forget, the commercial banks themselves have their own investment products that they are selling. And they would not like to, put aside that product because all their products will be competing with the gold coin from the central bank. And so the commercial banks will only act if the central bank will educate the public and create that awareness. So in terms of the success, it heavily depends on the central bank and how much they can sell the product. Then the commercial banks use their distribution channel to do the sale for the central bank.
Now, unionized transport operators have denied reports that they are pushing for an increase in fares. It followed an earlier disclosure by Transport Minister Joseph Bukari Nikwe of a meeting today to discuss their concerns. There is more in the following report.
According to the transport operators, the meeting with the sector minister today was more of welcoming him as well as update him on industry developments. The unionized operators also used the meeting to explore ways that government can assist the industry and deal with some of the challenges facing the sector. The operators, which include the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, also rejected reports that they are trying to use today's meeting to push for an increase in transport fares. They have told Joy Business that the current increment in prices of petroleum products over the past 1 month does not warrant an increase in transport fares. The operators, however, did not rule out getting back to the transport minister for fresh discussions if conditions in the coming weeks should warrant an increase in fares.
Let's wrap up the business update with what's happening in the commodities market. That's all in the business update. Back to you, Suti Abochi.
Thank you, Kojo, for bringing us business update. But you want to stay with us because we get right into our news review segment. Dr. Kwame Asante, Head of European Studies at the University of Ghana, and Dr. Jibril Mohammed is also with the University of Ghana Business School. They join us. It's an academics day, I think, for the news review. We'll be back in a bit. Stay with us. Sure. Oh, now we are. Good morning and welcome aboard the news review segment on the AM show. And let's usher in our guest and then we get the conversation started. Joining us this morning is Dr. Kwame Asante. He's head for the Center of European Studies at the University of Ghana, also a political scientist. And then we have Dr. Jibril Mohammed, senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Let me start by saying good morning to Dr. Kwame Asante.
Good morning, Sweetie. Good morning, Kojo. And good morning to our viewers.
Great. Thank you, Doc. We also have Dr. Mohammed joining us. Good morning, Doc.
Okay, so he's yet to join us.
Right.
Would bring him on board.
Okay, okay. Then let's start with Doc's comments for us this morning. Doc, there's so much happening actually in the country right now. I wonder what your take would be on, but take us away, please. Your 2 minutes.
I want to look at this phenomenon where anytime government comes to office, supporters who work through thick and thin and got the government into office will turn around and hold the government to ransom, especially when appointments are made and do not favor them or their candidate for that matter. They rise up in arms against the government. I want to look at that. It is a phenomenon that is becoming one too many, and the earlier we dealt with it, the better. How do we deal with this? We must understand that governance is a continuum, and power which is given to holders of political power are vested in those people, by the people, and for the people, and for the good reasons that are given to them. So it is only the appointing authority that has the power to decide who fills which position and at what point in time. When that is done and somebody has a problem with it, all that you do is to appeal, then resort to what? Violence, noise, and then some even besiege places to make sure that people do not occupy their offices and all that. These are illegalities.
Right. And
at best, they usurp the powers of the state. But we are saying that the way forward to this is what? One, you manage your expectations, and then the state also must take the trouble to create employment. When people are employed and they can earn a living or make ends meet, at the end of the day, political appointment will not be attractive to anybody because you can make ends meet. So the way forward is to build a solid economy and get everybody on board than people rooting for people so that when they are into office, they can also have something from them. That order should change.
Thank you so much, Doc.
All right, so we have Dr. Jibril also joining us. Jibril Mohammed is also a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Dr. Jibril, good morning and thanks for joining us here.
How are you? Good morning to all our listeners.
Okay, we are well. We hope that you are well too. But I want to start from the News Center newspaper today. Okay. There's an interesting story.
We haven't given Dr. Mohammed that opportunity to. Yeah.
So give Jibril that.
Right. Doc, well, Kojo, looks like you might have to continue with the paper.
Thank you. I'm here. Okay. Good morning. I want to take you back to what happens during the weekend at Sapema. I remember that about 12 filter containers were discovered filled with dollars, cedis, and gold. We are in a state of an economy that is nearly bankrupt. I believe that such amount of money, they should carefully look at it. I heard they said it was counterfeit, and I don't believe that was really a counterfeit. We have to really look at the currency.
No, there were some counterfeit notes and some actual real currencies. That's what the report
said. It was going to be exported. And what is the evidence that the currency was really counterfeit? Where were they taking the money to? We have to really investigate that. The security.
Look like we are getting some network interruptions from Dr. Jibrill's side, but as and when he gets, he reconnects, we will usher in him again.
Exactly, yes.
Because so you were going to get into your
Let's go back to Dr. Ashanti. Let's start from the news center.
50 billion
paper. Okay.
Dr. Jibril Mohammed, so I would like you to get off and reconnect with us because we are getting some interruptions to your network. All right, so while you do that, we'll continue with the newspapers.
Okay, now the newspaper, the News Center newspaper has a story. It says armed soldiers and police raid Oforiate's house, though government knew he is abroad on medical treatment. Now the story is on page 2 of that paper. It says, in a shocking and deeply troubling event, armed soldiers, police personnel, and plainclothes security operatives stormed the residence of former finance minister Ken Oforiatta on the morning of Tuesday, February 11, 2025. Eyewitnesses recount that despite demands from Mr. Oforiatta's security team for a legal search warrant, the armed operatives forcefully entered the premises, ransacked the house, found nothing, and left. What is even more alarming is that this lawless action took place when the government knew very well that Ken Oforiatta was out of the country seeking medical attention. Well, Dr. Ashanti, I don't know what to do make of this development, where the paper is telling us, or is reporting, that without a search warrant, a joint team of military, police, and plainclothes officers ransacked the house of the former finance minister. I mean, should that be the trend going forward? How do we cure this?
It must be condemned in its entirety. This is never done in any civilized society, where if you want to arrest people, there are rules of engagement that you go through. Any other thing short of it is nothing but an illegality that need to be condemned. Those who took part in that, they need to look for them and then pose questions to them for them to answer. It is totally wrong. But you see, it is becoming one too many in this country. I have heard stories from people in government today where also, when the NDC lost power, people went to their homes in such, Rambo style, and then did similar things. I have heard about the Fiamakwe story and others. These are gory tales of human rights violations that we don't need them in this country. This is a country of law, for Christ's sake, and that any other person who wants to do anything in this country must follow the due process. So we as a society must put our foot down and ensure that we don't have a recurrence of this. Otherwise, we are making a mockery of our democracy. This is totally wrong, and it will not be accepted anywhere in a civilized society.
Does it say what they're looking for?
Well, the paper just said they didn't specify, but because they didn't see anything, after ransacking it, they left the house, just like that. I mean, so probably nobody knows what they were looking for. If they had found what they were looking for, probably they would have taken it along with them. But Doc, is it not because there's lack of structures in terms of how we handle, a change in government within that period when a government has lost power and another government, a government in waiting, has won? That's why all of these do happen.
Oh, there are structures. There are structures because the basic principle is rule of law. That if you want to go to somebody's home, whether there is a new government or an old government, there must be a search warrant. You produce that, and then the processes follow. So on what basis are you going there? Any other, approach will be like an armed robber entering into your home. And for me, That is what is worrying. We are punishing innocent people unnecessarily. I mean, yes, you can have somebody in mind that he is, he has done something wrong, and you want to deal with that person. There's nothing wrong, but you use the law. The approach is what we are talking about. Remember, rule of law consists of two components: equality before the law, due process. So one says that nobody is above the law, and that the other one is that any decision you take in the state must reflect the laws of the land. Is that the case? It is not. The approach is totally wrong, and it should not be the case. And it's been happening all the time that we change power just because we want to settle scores. But remember, two wrongs do not make right.
Interesting.
We need to be worried about that.
Dr. Mohammed is also on. I don't know if you follow the story, Doc. This is a chance to also get a bite at it.
Yes, I follow the story, and I think that, as my former lecturer said, it's totally wrong. You cannot raid somebody home because you think, you suspect that he's hiding something there. If you have an issue with him, take him to court. That is why the courts are there. There is no place for anybody to raid anybody home. It could be you and I. One day, anybody can raid our homes because they have a suspicion about us. I think that is totally wrong. Let's follow the due process and let us watch the democracy that we have as a country.
Well, thank you there. Are there more stories in your paper?
Chief of Staff sacks persons employed after December 7 is here. Also in this paper, Okada riding to be regularized by March. That's according to Transport Minister. And also President Mahama inaugurate 120-day social contract task force. So I'm interested in these three stories. Dr. Asante, these three, Chief of Staff sacking personnel employed after December 7, Okada riding to be regularized by March, according to Transport Minister, and then President Mahama inaugurating 120-day social contract task force. Which of the three would you want to take a bite on? All of them are quite interesting.
I'll look at the Chief of Staff sacking a number of public servants. Okay. That's what I want to look at.
Okay.
Yeah. If you look at that story, it is very unfortunate. You see, there are processes by which we get people into the public service. One, through advertisement of qualities of people that they want, and then set what skills that the office needs. Then two, you look out for application will follow, followed by examination, followed by interview, and then if you gain the job, you go through medical examination, and then you will resume work with your schedule and all that. Why would our leaders appoint people not based on these lines, and only to create a problem for them or create disaffection for the government that want to get them out of office? It is unfortunate. We don't stab a new government at the back like that. It's not the best. And those people who also want to be engaged simply because you are looking for a job, please look at it through what legal means. Otherwise, once you cross the line and they want to regularize the system, you'll be thrown out. The whole issue is about merit. It's public service hinges on meritocracy. Without merit, I'm afraid you'll be thrown out. So we have to shy away from appointing political apparatchiks into the public service and then making sure that they bypass all the rules of engagement and getting them in by hook or crook. A day will come that they will not find place within the public service. And that is the day we have here. It's unfortunate we are having this, but that is the way to go.
All right. Dr. Jibril, how do we ensure such a development? Or we have three issues. I don't know if you also want to take a bite on that, or you want to look at another subject matter that we put forth.
Well, I think Dr. Ashanti has dealt with it extensively. There is no place for it. I believe that it is so. There is no place for it. Now, if you look at the Okada issue, it's been a campaign promise even by the two major political parties. The fact that they have to regularize the process. It's a source of income generating for the country. I think other countries have it. They have it and they have a uniform. They have the nature of the bike they're supposed to be using, etc. it is not right to allow people to continue to be that kind of informal sector without putting in the proper regulations. So if we are able to do so, we can even tax them, and we can generate enough resources to be able to maintain our rules and also to support the development of the country. It should not be just an informal sector. It should be a formal sector that is also bringing an income to the country. On the issue of the social contract theory, I think that, yes, if you enter into a social contract with the people, you have to deliver. And I believe that by the principle of state accountability, you have to be accountable. The government has been giving us communication updates on every month, telling us what they are doing, etc. If a task force, I don't even think you need a task force. The chief of staff should be able to track all of this so that we save our taxpayers' money. You don't have to set up another analogous institution to do so. It should be done by the chief of staff office, but not setting up another institution. That is the way to spend our money. Let's ensure that we are already in a very difficult situation. So we should not be setting up a lot of parallel institutions that will come in for only to consume but not to do anything much when there are other institutions.
Doc, this isn't an institution, is it? I mean, it's a task force, more like a committee.
And what if we're even told that they are going to work like Audit did without any remuneration or whatever?
Well, well, if it is that so, that's fine. But I don't know whether you cannot, you say you will not work without, definitely there will be some funds allocated for it. There is no free lunch in any economy.
Okay.
Well,
let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper now. On the front page, just what we were talking about. President inaugurates task force to realize his 120-day social contract with the Ghanaian people. Regions elect reps to Council of State. And on that, I mean, that's that story.
Yeah.
We brought to you in our news bulletin this morning. And it appears we are unable as a country, Kojo, to hold elections, conduct elections without a sprinkle of chaos. We are seeing 67-year-old men, 76-year-old men who are, you know, in the bid to become members, elders of the Council of State, but also marred with violence, pockets of chaos here and there. Dr. Kwame Asasant.
You cannot understand why that happens, but maybe we, as a country, we need to have time and think through our electoral processes to find out how do we take out these, you know, pocket of chaos from these elections, because the Council of State really, I didn't expect to have this, but it has. So maybe going forward, we need to tackle all of those.
Doc, let me throw this to you. Dr. Kwame Asasant, two things really. First, the pockets of chaos and violence that marred this, which was supposed to be a very simple election, actually. And then two, the attention that it got from the media. For me, as a journalist, it was until somewhere last week that I even heard that there was an election like this going on. And I don't know how, when you heard it, and what role we can play to amplify the importance or significance of this in the media. But first, on the chaos that's marred the elections.
Chaos has no place in any electoral process. Democracy is a civilized business, and we do it with decorum. And then what? You temper everything and make sure that the best of things happen. Because at the end of the day, whoever has lost election must accept defeat and abide by the rules of the game. This is the spirit behind any democratic enterprise. So it is conducted based on rule of law, and the people work within what the space of what rule of law. It is not surprising that I'm saying this, because at the national level, we glorify these things, we amplify them, we support violence, strictly speaking. So how does it deviate?
We support violence, Doc.
Don't we support violence? We support violence in various forms. Because one, people go and bribe their ways. People go and buy votes. People go and work against the standard practice, all right? I mean, go and destroy things at collation centers, at, polling stations and all that. What happened to them? They get away with that. Is it not a tacit admission of guilt? Are we not supporting these things? All right, but if we as a society, all right, people go through these things and they are punished, it will serve as deterrence. we go to elections and go and gun people down. And then, I mean, there is no place for justice for them in terms of justice and all that. Is it not violence are we supporting? But you see, any society that travel on this journey, you're going to have a problem. I'm not a prophet of doom, and I'm not wishing that for my country. But you see, it is a problem we have identified. Look at national politics where political parties introduce what vigilantes. Are they not criminal organizations and violent people who are in that space? So I will not be surprised that election of this nature, that the caliber of people who are more, respected, who are people who hold in high esteem, and then you find things like this happening, then there's a problem. Then there's a big problem.
Right.
But if we want to do away from this, we have to get the basics right. Let nothing but the law regulate the conduct of election. Any human being who breaches the law must face the full rigor of the law. And let us make sure that all these problems we identify, let's nip them in the bud. Otherwise, we'll end up promoting violence all the time, even though we don't like violence. But by our action and inactions, we promote violence and we destroy processes that are so beautiful, we destroy them. Coming back to look at it, the prominence given to it, I am also not surprised because we are in this country, important things people pay little attention to. Look at even local government elections. Anytime we are going in for that, very little, prominence is given to that, as if it is not important. The grassroots elections are so critical. And so is what? Elections for what? Council of State. Because if you look at the work that Council of State have to do, it's a tall order, even though I disagree that we want to have them as a body which is just an advisory body. I want to have them as what? A second chamber, because of the quality of people that are in there. So their decision will be binding on government of the day. But that aside, this is what we have now. But let's save it. Give it prominence. Let people know about it. Discuss issues about them. Let people appreciate the work that they do. So that at the end of the day, we will not shove the beauty of the system under the carpet. Because there are a lot that they do. But we seem not to have ideas about them because media give it very little prominence. But we give prominence to other things that are unnecessary. These are very important things. I'm afraid. I'm a journalist myself, but this one, we should take the flag as journalists.
But Doc, who should drive that campaign? Who's responsible for amplifying what's going on when it comes to the election of these 16 regional reps for the Council of State?
Obviously, you have political actors within the space. One being Electoral Commission itself, by educating us, because one of the basic roles of Electoral Commission to give political education and voter information. It is the duty of the election management body. You give voter information about the upcoming election, and then you give education about what to do, what not to do. Then you also usher us into the process by carrying everybody along the process. So Electoral Commission is the first port of call. Not only that, we have also those who are going to contest. Obviously, they want to sell themselves. Have they sold themselves enough for the world to see, to know that they are contesting something like this? Of course, NCC also clothed with the responsibility of making us know about this and giving us enough education to augment what Electoral Commission is doing. Did they also play their role as, expected? Then we also want to bring along the media, because if you're talking about free and fair elections, one of the pivots around which free and fair hinges is the issue of a free media. We have a free media, so what prevents the media to also the little information, blow it up and make sure that we follow the conversation. And then above all, individuals within the political space, individual political actors, you and I must also take the conversation to another level, to let people know that this is a serious exercise. It's so important and we need to follow. We all got it wrong and we need to blame ourselves. Not only the media, but every political actor that I've spoken about in this political space, we are all guilty.
Well, we all got it wrong. Dr. Jibri, I'm throwing that to you. Your reflection on the just ended, although some regions haven't yet concluded on that, but what did you make of the regional elections for the Council of State? elections, I mean.
Well, if you tamper with democracy, you tamper with justice. And I believe that that is justice that has been tampered with. And one of the philosophers says that the people will only be free if they obey the laws they themselves have made. Have we obeyed the laws that we have made for ourselves? Absolutely no. If we obey the laws, the constitutions, the rules set up by the Electoral Commission, we are not going to be damaging or we are not going to be causing chaos in any electoral space. As Dr. Ashanti says, chaos have no place in electoral politics. It is a contest of ideas. Come and contest your idea and make sure that your ideas win you the vote, not chaos that is going to bring you into power. So we should shun away from some of these things because this is what has happened. In the past, people have been killed. Nobody did anything about it. So there is no any room for them to do anything. If they do it, people will not care about it. That is how come that they continue to do it. If in the past, all those who committed the crimes were prosecuted and sent to prison, today we will not have had that in the place. The caliber of people to be elected are very important. And I don't see that we should have some of these things happening in this particular election.
Right.
If any election at all, fine, but not this particular election.
Okay, thank you. Let me run through some quick headlines here and then we'll move on to another paper. Minister comments Ghana Water Company Limited reaffirms government's commitment to universal water access. That's the Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources, Mr. Kenneth Gilbert Ejing. And he's commended Ghana Water Company Limited for its efforts in expanding EBA water supply and improving service delivery. And he went on to reaffirm the government's commitment to ensuring universal access to potable water. My question is, are we dealing with Galamsey? President urges Chinese investors to explore business opportunities in Ghana. And the President, John Dramani Mahama, has extended an open invitation to Chinese investors to be on the lookout for business opportunities. Just one quote and we go to something else. Ghana is open for business again, and I invite our comrade Chinese investor community to look at the opportunities Ghana has to offer, and let's create a win-win situation for our two people. And that was at the Chinese Lantern Festival that was held at the University of Ghana. Am I the only one, Kojo, who raised an eyebrow? No malice intended, but was I the only one who raised an eyebrow when I saw the president there at the Lantern Festival? This is a Chinese program, festival of a sort. I have no problems that they're doing it here. We have a huge number of Chinese population in the country. But for the president to attend,
the thing is that last year we were told that the trade between China and Ghana was up to $111 billion.
Right.
If that is the case, of course, they become critical to your economy.
Right.
And therefore, whatever they do, you need to show face. You need to be there.
Okay. Doug, what did you make of it? Did you feel any type of way about the president showing up at the Lantern Festival?
As Kweju has said, whether we like it or not, Chinese is a big actor within the global political economy. A lot of things they are doing. Look at your projects, infrastructure that they support you in exchange for minerals and the rest of them. They are playing very important role and all that. But I follow that. But my question is, where are Ghanaians? The president is encouraging them, supporting them to, as it were, take advantage of our society, of our system, and then also support us to build capacity. And there's nothing wrong about that.
Okay.
But we should look at the convex of that argument. And that argument is that where are our people themselves? Let us also encourage our people, local people, grow them within the local space so that they can take advantage of their own society and build them to the best of their abilities. I mean, nobody can do it for you. Look at what is happening in America. It should send a clear signal to us that we need to build our own. They are getting illegal immigrants out of the country. Nothing wrong about it. People who are condemning, they have their own problem. I don't want to look at it. It is your duty to build your own. And what I am seeing as a student of international politics, I will not be surprised that when this thing gain currency, it will rub off with Europe. And you see Europeans also following suit. Once Americans get their basics right, it can be followed by Europe. And other countries. If you don't take care, a time will come, you will be not permitted to come and play that, perform that menial jobs or the role that you play and all that. Build your own. And I don't begrudge those Western powers who want to right their wrongs in their country. Build your own. So I will encourage my president, the government of this country, that whilst we want to encourage the Chinese to come and then help us to build capacity, we ourselves to take the initiative and build our own. I am saying this because parties will come to office and then they undermine business people who are with the other side of the political divide. It is not good enough. Build business people within all the political tradition so that, remember, they are Ghanaians. They can help us. Look at what Dangote is doing in Nigeria. People build them.
Right.
So today, one of the news items I listened to from your network is that we have very little capacity in terms of toll. And then we have a lot of people who are working there, idle hands and all that. If we have built business people within the Ghanaian political space, irrespective of their political tradition or orientation, by now they'll be doing something of this nature for us.
Right.
Look at people like the president brother, the wonderful things he's doing, his cement factory and all that. And you saw attack on him initially. Today, that cement is there and creating more jobs for our people. Let us not target business people. Let us build capacity for our own people and develop them to the best.
All right.
The issue of Ghana Water Company. You pose an interesting question. Now, what happens to Galamsey? Yes. Are we saying that Ghana Water Company is out of the woods yet? Because in no time we've heard that some of their branches, they want to shut them down because of what? The threats against what? Regular supply of water due to what? Galamsey activities. Has it stopped? It tells us that we should not lose sight on the fight against Galamsey. And I commend your station because the hashtag is on. Stop Galamsey now. Let us all put our wheels to the our shoulders to the wheel and build that society that we can regulate or regularize the Galamsey activity. We'll get resources, we'll get employment, and at the end of the day, we'll save the ecosystem and get water for ourselves. Water is life. It is an inalienable right. A right, when taken away from you, you cease to be a human being. We need water at all times. Otherwise, a day will come, we import water, and that is the day you and I don't want to know.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. I hope I don't live in an era where we have to import water in this country. But Dr. Mohammed, a quick bite at these stories and move on to other papers.
Well, first of all, I think that Chinese are important, but as said already, we have to build our own capacity. We have to build our own economy. If you bring in foreign investors into your economy, you are only creating jobs and capital flight at the same time. Even though they will make the profit and they will take the profit away. And it's your economy that tends to suffer at the end of the day. But if you're able to grow your own locals, they have the capacity, they're able to develop, they employ, and they expand an economy. Then at the end of the day, it is your country that is going to benefit in double. Your money stays in your country, and at the same time, you employ a lot of people. So I believe that we should be encouraging our own businessmen here to be able to develop a good capacity that can retain our jobs, not that there are temporary jobs. Some of the foreign investors just come in. After they have had their tax holidays and it's over, they pack and leave. What are we doing about that? And we give them a lot of tax exemptions. All of these tax exemptions can be given to Ghanaians, and Ghanaians can use that to develop our own capacity. A lot of examples have been cited. I don't think that we should continue with political witch hunting, where a business owned by another political party is being destroyed. We have seen that in the past, a lot of it, we have seen it. I don't think that the current administration to take that path. They should bring them on board, especially 24-hour economy is coming. They should bring them on board, let them work around the clock, and let us develop our own country.
Right.
This country is for us, it's not for anybody. Now, on the issue of the Ghana Water Company, water is life, as he said. Goal 6 of the SDGs talks about clean water and sanitation. Without water, you cannot have better sanitation.
Oh, unfortunately, we have bad connection there. But let's get to some other stories.
So I think the amount I mentioned earlier is 11.84 billion.
Okay.
Ghana-China trade hit 11.84 billion in 2024.
That's significant.
That's significant. But I agree with comments by our resource persons that we need to build local giants. It's important. Yes. No country relies on a foreigner to build for him. So we need to ensure that we identify the people we can support. Russia did it. China has done it. All the Chinese guys we see, they built them locally and decided that let's export.
You're going too far. Burkina Faso.
Oh.
They started building and assembling, I think, their own, car, electric vehicles, which they are ready to export. And they're doing everything in Burkina Faso. They are not going to seek international aid anywhere. It's theirs. Anyway.
We didn't do that for Apostle Kojo Safo Kantanka.
Chale, where is he?
He's there.
And let me just butt in.
Yeah.
And let me just butt in, sweetie.
Dog.
Is it not, very worrying that we go to Burkina desert area where we have arable lands here, we produce all manner of crops, go and buy what vegetable there? Shame on to you.
Tomatoes,
Dog says shame on to us. Okay, let's do the custodian newspaper. Akufo-Addo Bawumia paid tribute to Sam Nujoma. He was the founding president of Namibia. Minority flees Mahama over scandalous withdrawals of criminal cases. Confirmed, oral committee based $21 billion loot on rumors. Government to license Okada riders. Northern Jura citizens push for Herbert Dixon as Enzima East MCE. The lobbying starts. So they want...
Your people are winning.
Say it again?
Your people are winning?
My people. I mean, okay, let me see. I'm interested in the Hunter West. It hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
But let's see how it goes. But let's do with the oral committee one. It says, it has now emerged that majority of the findings of the operation recover all loot. Committees are based on their shared rumors that need further investigation to merit possible prosecution. In presenting their report to President John Dramani Mahama on Monday, February 10, 2025, Chairman of the Oral Committee, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, claimed they have identified $21.19 billion in potential recoveries from looted state assets and undervalued land sales. But according to this paper, what is coming out is that a lot of it were based on just mere rumors.
That must be our interview from yesterday.
It looks like, that we were told that apart from the 33 cases, a lot
36.
of it is just based on information that they've gotten in, unless they investigate. Dr. Asante, I don't know what you do make of this, that, well, out of the 21 billion we had, majority of it is based on I don't want to say rumors, but information that were provided to the committee that needs to be investigated before we can actually prove whether we can get it or not.
A very difficult one, because when you look at it, the $21 billion or so was the size of the Ghanaian economy. I mean, it's another thing that economists like my good friend Jibril will be able to speak about that. But that aside, I'm looking at the good aspect of the whole process. Even they get one case that is worth investigating, it's worth its while. I want them to go through and then move forward to the court and let us see the end of it. Because take it or leave it, corruption has taken away the best of our shine, and we have to fight it head on. This morning, you heard Transparency International, the local branch, GII, talking much about corruption. It is something that takes away a lot of governance space, a lot of developmental projects, and all that. So it is something that we need to work at. So if there are properties that have been looted from the state, there are corrupt acts that through that people have acquired unexplained wealth, we must be able to put them into a position where they explain the source of their wealth. In every civilized society, the unexplained wealth, you account for it. And that is the spirit behind what? Good governance agenda. That you need people to be answerable for their actions and inactions and be able to tell us their source of income. It is something so important. So we need that at all times. We need that at all times. So let them go through, even if we get one that will pass the test, it's fine. So that it serves as deterrence to others. But when we say that, oh, most of them are rumor and all that, so it bases the whole argument. That one I differ. Even one is bad enough. That when because you can have one with a very huge, impact, and that will take people away of the realms of corruption. So let Aura continue. But my fear is that will the government have the courage to be able to prosecute people, especially when it comes to their own people, whose name have also found expression in this exercise. And that is where I want to see leadership. When NDC people, their names also find expression on the list of people who have also looted the states, then we see that we are in business. Otherwise, I'll continue to support it, but I want to wait toward the end of game so that I can comment.
Okay. Dr. Mohammed, you want to get a bite of that, and then we move on to other stories.
Yeah, well, if you look at what has been estimated, about 21 billion, this is about 135 times of what we receive as foreign aid from the US. So if you are able to recover this amount of money, it means that it can take us 135 years to be able to finance foreign aid. Just this money alone, 135 years, to be able to finance foreign aid from the USAID.
Yeah.
So which means that we have a long way to go. If you are able to recover few of that amount of money, we are owing over let's say $80 billion as a form of debt. $20 billion is gone. So if we are able to get $20 billion to service our debt, you can imagine how much of the debt we can reduce, by how much magnitude. So corruption has no place. We have to work very hard to ensure that we get the money back. Whatever at all we can do, we have to. Even if there are collection of information, it serves as a basis for investigation. It's very important. The order was not meant to bring out people that they are criminals. They were meant to just gather information, and the appropriate bodies should be able to prosecute. But I must caution that we don't have to take 8 years or 4 years to prosecute people involved in this. We need to have timelines. If it is given to Attorney General Department, let us quicken it just like we quicken electoral process court cases. It should be fight head on. Even if we have to marshal a lot of resources to be able to do so, we have to do that because it's really very important as a country.
Well, thank you. More stories?
Well, I think let's do another.
Well, I have the new publisher, and it says, what the heck? Macho men hijack Council of State elections, beat journalists, scatter everything. It's a shame, really. But we already dealt with that story. Tanko wins Volta Region Council of State by 67%. Mahama sacks all workers appointed after December 7th. We've dealt with all those stories already. And then the Accra Times, African speakers taken to task to address transnational challenges. And the Speaker of Parliament's photo is here. In fact, yesterday I saw an article about the Speaker asking that they should exorcise the chamber because there's something they're promoting disorderliness.
Yes. So he says they have to take their prayers, their end-of-month prayers to the chamber to exercise.
I mean, we're coming from where President John Dramani Mahama is saying pray and fast for the country, and now the Speaker is saying let's exercise.
We believe in prayers, don't we?
Do you?
Yes.
You think our problems will be solved with prayers?
Well, we're a country we're a Christian country, don't we?
Not all of us.
Not yes, but majority.
Well.
And we believe in prayers.
Let's see what our resource
Let's take the prayers to the chamber.
Dr. Kwame Asante, so we need prayers in the chamber, the Speaker of Parliament says. What do you say?
Sweetie, it's very interesting. See, I am a religious person.
Yeah.
I'm not a Christian, neither am I a Muslim. I'm a traditional person.
Okay.
But I also believe in my faith. But you see, the attitude of prayer doesn't solve any problem. Put them aside and let's work. Because if we're talking about prayers, then we must as well fold our arms and then allow prayers to clean our street for us, get employment and all that. I respect prayer. I respect that. But let's do the practical thing. Let's be realistic and work. You know, I'm not surprised we are hearing this because you see, if you read Ghana and the Rollins Factor by
unfortunately, that's our time, but I don't know what happened to right.
You organize a week prayer, a week prayer to solve Ghanaian problems. And then he followed up with essay competition. Whoever essay will make the best will be used to run the affairs of the. This is ridiculous from my champon and all that. We are saying that, and that is why Aristotle has always provided a guide that politics must be handled by those who are intellectually fit, because it's an intellectual exercise.
Right.
Anybody without that knowledge, I'm afraid you are in a wrong camp.
Doc, I'm sorry, I have to take the wind out of your sail because that's our time. Right. Dr. Mohammed, just a quick bite and then we have to go.
Well, it's a contest of ideas. So the fact of the matter is that I don't think, yes, I'm a Muslim, all right. Prayer is very important. Pray behind the scenes, but do the work. You cannot pray and pray and pray without working. You have to work. Let's put in the best strategies in place to ensure that we don't have some of these problems happening in Parliament. Right. What are the measures the Speaker is putting in place? What are the modus operandi should Parliament operate? What kind of the punishment incentives are available for people who misbehave? These are the things we should be doing so that we can stop some of these problems that we have in Parliament.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Right. That is Dr. Jibri Mohammed, Senior Lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Yeah. Kojo, get ready to go and man Karababush.
But I'm not sure the Speaker meant that is only prayers.
Yeah.
We have to back it with work.
Yeah.
You know, but we should believe in it.
Well, that's all the time we have for News Review segment. Stay because sports comes up next, anchored by Muftan Abel Abdullah. We'll be right back.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftar Abel Abdullah, former chairman of the Ghana League Clubs Association. Joseph Yao Apia says that the Ghana Football Association lacks leadership. According to him, the football governing body would have put in the right structures that would have curtailed the stabbing of Kumasi Ashanti Kotoko fan Nana Pole during the Ghana Premier League match between Insuatruman FC and Kumasi Ashanti Kotoko if the leadership of the football governing body were up and doing.
Is there the leadership? Self-centered, closed circuit.
Self-centered, what is it?
Self-centered, whatever they say, nobody can challenge it. Nobody. You see, I don't know. I have not been following because I'm not interested to follow it. When you sit down and watch things going on, at times you become sad. Why do you go to Congress? You don't do this. You won't allow you to talk. You do this. You do this. Suppressing people. When you talk, they will call you to ethics committee. When you do this, when you do this.
But you need to protect the institution.
No, you need to protect. Then do well. What people won't talk about it. Look at officiating. Look at the way things are going on. Look at the performance of the Blasters. Look at the performance of national teams. Then you don't want people to talk. Do what is good.
But you worked with the current Quetico. You didn't work with him at
No, I left before he came.
Oh, before he came? Okay.
Yes.
So
now I understand we won't even go to the office, the process you go through. It's an office, public office. So if I have suggestions, do I have to go through all this before I go and give you suggestions? You open up, people will advise you, people will like to talk. Now everybody is afraid to talk. The team managers are afraid to talk because if you talk, your team will go on relegation. My team Bofakwa went on relegation. And we also officiate. We talk, yeah, can talk. He will hold before the ethics committee. Yes, you know the sort of officiating that we had.
Do you ever feel hurt about some of these things?
No, you see,
because as one of the people who laid a very strong foundation for Ghana football many years ago, and it has become what it is now.
At times I feel so bad that our forefathers, Santi Gemfi, the late Professor Masi Deke, the late Kwajoku Hachi, the late Zabentum, the Tana Badla, the late Jaola, the effort that they put into bring Ghana football to limelight that they did a lot of sacrifice. During our days, we were not taking anything from as members of the Reserve Council. I think our allowance was 10 cedis, and my friend Champion said we should increase to 15 cedis. We told him it's a sacrificial job. He won't do go. Now they take monthly allowance. Where in the world have you seen a board member taking regular payment in addition to allowance that they take?
Now let's still stay on JY Appiah. He also described the stabbing of Kumasi Ashanti Kotoko founder Napoli in Iswatre as a blot on the community, and has called on the Ghana Football Association to provide security for away teams during Ghana Premier League matches.
It's rather unfortunate. I wish we don't mention it. It happened in my hometown. Yeah. So that my team I support. It's very, very rather unfortunate. It shouldn't have happened. My sympathy goes to Kotoko family, the family of the late Nanapoli. It's rather unfortunate. Though I pray that we are forgiven. Don't let us go up. It's very bad. Very, very bad. We didn't do well. Whatever the situation, would have been a little bit patient because it's football. It's rather unfortunate.
This is a blot.
It's a big blot to Nswatre town itself and then Nswatre man, which we don't mention it. Very painful, very sad, very disgraceful, very unfortunate. We are sorry for what happened. Though I'm not on the executive of Nswatre, I'm from Nswatre. We are sorry for what happened. It was unwarranted. It shouldn't have happened at all. Very sad. We beg for forgiveness. We didn't do well.
How do we bring hooliganism, or how do we curtail hooliganism in football?
You see, we must be fair. The match we are talking about, there was inadequate police security. And we must go by the rules of the game. If it's match A, we must go 20 soldiers. We must ensure that 20 police are there. I quite remember sometimes we were bringing the military to supplement the efforts of the police. We must be fair and tighten up our security. It requires money, but money can't buy life. It requires money, but money can't buy life.
That's very true. Money cannot buy life, indeed. And there are people who say that because the FA often ask the home team to provide the security, get the police and other security people to go and safeguard the venues and all that. There are people who believe that some of these clubs do not have the resources to be able to get the required number of security at match venues. So what should the FA do now?
You see, apart from the resources, I don't think the Nswatre police ban was arrest Nswatre supporter. After the arrest, do you know what will happen? More so, I don't think Sunyani policeman will arrest Bofakwa supporter or arrest Nswatre BA United supporter. If there's a need, the police security should come from outside the locality. And then we should not think about money. The FA should take it upon itself to provide adequate security for both home and away team. Nswatre police population is not up to 20. How do you use Nswatre police, and not all of them can leave the office to go to the stadium? Yes, if possible, they come from other, despite the cost. We should not think about the cost. So that they are neutral and they perform their work well. At times, some policemen will stop their duty and will be watching the matches. If the home team score, they will be jubilating. It's natural.
Meanwhile, Kumasi Ashanti Kotoko, they have told the Ghana Football Association that they will not be partaking in any competition under the umbrella of the football governing body until all the proposals they've submitted to the FA are met. During a meeting between the Executive Council and the leadership of Kumasi Ashanti Kotoko, Nana Apenkra, who is the chairman of the Internal Management Committee of Ashanti Kotoko, told the Ghana Football Association that they are very much aware that the football governing body does not respect House of Folk and Ashanti Kotoko. However, these two clubs will force the Ghana Football Association to respect them by deciding to withdraw from participating in any competition if the Ghana Football Association fails to meet all the proposals they've submitted. And the proposal they've submitted is asking the Ghana Football Association to provide adequate security during matches. They've also asked the GFA to give them automatic slots, or 2 automatic slots on the Executive Council, and give them a large share of TV revenue for the broadcast rights of the Ghana Premier League. The proposals were about 11 of them, and they want all these proposals met by the Ghana Football Association before they return to the pitch for Ghana Premier League matches. And also, on Tuesday, the GFA held a draw for the round of 16 of the FA Cup. Kumasi Asante Kotoko will come up against 11Y, whilst Accra House of Oak will also be in action against the Dream Killers of this year's competition. My colleague, Razak Musbawa, has been going through the draw and has details in this report.
The 16th stage is expected to be a very exciting one. It will continue the story of this season's FTN FA Cup, which has already seen some heavyweight being knocked out of the competition. You talk about Dreams FC, who won it some 2 seasons ago, have been knocked out of the competition. Reigning champions in Sonchurman have also been knocked out of the competition. And we are seeing some underdogs, particularly some teams in the Division 1 who are making strides, looking to impress and possibly go all the way in the competition. Now, in the draw that was held on Tuesday at the Ghana Football Association Secretariat, the draw will see the record holders, Accra Heart of Oak, having to travel to the home of Golden Kicks FC to play them in the round of 16. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, who are also one of the very successful teams in this competition, will be playing Secondary 11Ys. Then you also have Brekum Chelsea hosting Northern City FC. And then Kerala United will also host Young Apostles, most definitely at the Aliu Mahama Sports Stadium. Then Techiman Liberty Youth will play former champions of this competition, Bechem United. And then you have Midiama, who are also former champions of this competition, playing Park Academy. And most definitely that game will also take place at the TNA Stadium. And then you have Atram Devisa playing Gold Stars FC. That is expected to be another very cagey game to look forward to. But one team that have impressed in the competition is a newly promoted team in the Division 1, True Democracy FC. They have become more of giant slayers. They were the team that knocked out Dreams FC in the round of 32. And this time around, they will be facing a former champion of the competition in FC Narnia. That, of course, is the legend Abedi Pele's team. And True Democracy FC will be hosting them at the Tema Stadium. Now, at the moment, as to when the fixtures will happen, it's undecided. The Ghana Football Association says they will communicate the date very soon. But when the games do finally unfold, it's expected to be an exciting one, with both teams looking to advance to the quarterfinals, then the semifinals, and ultimately the final. The race to who clinches this season's MTN FA Cup is on. Will it be a Division 1 side, as FC Narnia did once upon a time, or Accra Heart of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko will continue their dominance in this competition? We'll wait to see.
And Atlantic Bay Resort, and the Ghana Tennis Federation, they have unveiled a new tennis court in Pram Pram. I've got details in this report.
5 lawn tennis clubs converged at Atlantic Bay Resort and competed in the event, which includes M8 Tennis Club from Koforidua, Premier Tennis Club, Regional Marine Tennis Club, Sole Lagoon Tennis Club, and the Accra Social Tennis Club. The clubs gathered to celebrate the newly built tennis facility and competed in a special tournament. Speaking at the sword cutting ceremony, Vice President of the Ghana Tennis Federation, Cedric Delu, expressed his satisfaction with the facility and hope it will serve the people of Pram Pram while fostering greater interest in the sports.
You know that football is the #1 sport in Ghana, and the main reason is because everywhere you go, you see people playing football. And so the love for football is across the country. Now for us in tennis, anytime we see a facility like this, we see it as a breakthrough for tennis. Because the more we have such facilities, the more we have people loving the game, appreciating the game, and getting involved in the game. And it is for this reason that I want us to first of all appreciate and celebrate the industriousness and leadership of the man who has made this possible. Children will be learning tennis here. And for the folks or neighbors around here, some of them will be coming here. And champions will be developed or raised from this court. And so beyond the pleasure that we get from coming here, this facility can raise champions for Ghana. That's why I'll ask you to clap for Dr. Farid once again.
Dr. Farid Atta, owner and CEO of Atlantic Bay Resorts, highlighted the significance of bringing lawn tennis closer to the people of Pram Pram.
We started this thing because we wanted to bring sports closer to the people of Pram Pram. And when we started thinking about it, everybody was talking about getting an astroturf for football. But football, we all love football, and everywhere you go is football. But there are a lot of talents when it comes to sports. Football, you need 22 people to make a game. Here, with one person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, you can get talent showing. And I'm sure that in Pram here, there are quite a few people who have talent that nobody is nurturing. Everybody plays football. So finally, when it came up, we said, let us invest in a tennis court. That will help the youth, bring the youth together, but also keep the people who are around this area, who have moved to come and stay around the 25 and other things, something to feel excited about. So that's why we did this.
The court will serve as the host grounds for the Atlantic Bay Resort Tennis Club. Reporting for Joy Sports, Joseph Ayinga Walter.
You're still watching the AM show, and now we want to serve you AM Business. The Executive Director of the Ghana Gold Expo Foundation, Dr. Stephen Accra, has made an appeal to government not to cancel the gold for oil policy. Now, according to him, even though there is a need to undertake a review of the policy to address the challenges associated with the program, cancelling the initiative outright will not help stabilize fuel prices. And he spoke to Joy Business on today's AM Business.
The Gold for Oil program initiated or introduced by the then NPP government, it was one of the policies that was being introduced by the then government to look at issues of fuel prices and also CD depreciation and all of that. But there have been some challenges with respect to this program. Well, others say it's been up to, at aim for which it was being introduced. Some also say there are some challenges that is being confronted by this particular policy. To help me understand what is really happening within this space, and to also talk about the policy itself, I have the Executive Director of the Ghana Gold Expo Foundation. He is in the person of Dr. Stephen Accra. He'll be helping me delve into this space and know what exactly is happening. Doc, great to have you today. Before we even go into the Gold for Oil policy, let me start by asking, what is the Ghana Gold Expo Foundation? What is it all about?
Thank you very much. Yes, so the Gold Expo Foundation, I think, started in 2018. I think, right, because you know that there was a ban on the small-scale mining and also the illegal mining operations in Ghana during President Akufo-Addo, the ex-president anyway, during his tenure. Okay. So in 2018, we did a lot of research and we sent an official proposal to the office of the president that we have seen some of the things that I think is not working in the small-scale sector, and we love to be part of it. So we're lucky to be called by the president, the Chamber of Mines, the Bank of Ghana, PMMC, the entire body within the mining space. So we met with the minister and our proposal was accepted. So based on that, in 2019, we proposed to host the first ever since 1957 Gold Expo in Ghana. And that hosted over more than 1,000 participants. And during that time, during the expo, is where we discovered a lot of things that we realized that we need to be implemented. So in a nutshell, what the Ghana Gold Expo does is that we provide policy advice to the government of Ghana in terms of the gold trade with the small scale sector. We provide training programs, and we also look at the OECD 5 steps in providing responsible sourcing programs to various refineries in Ghana through PMMC certified Minerals Commission traders that have been given the license to export gold. So that is basically what we do. I think of importance, one of the things that will be more key here is that we initiated, and I mean we are the pioneers of the people that started why Ghana is not reserving gold, because as at that time, as I mentioned, since 1957 to now, the gold reserve that we had was 7.8 tons of 8 tons. Yet we are the #1 producer of gold. So we brought top experts together, and we work hand in hand with the Central Bank of Ghana, and we're able to produce the idea of Ghana buying gold. And I think that is where the Gold for Oil program and other things came about. So we are going to get into it, as you mentioned.
Now, the Gold for Oil program, what has been the assessment so far from your point of view?
Well, you know, we are policy advisors, so we don't implement the law. But I think in 2020, on the 8th of January, if I recall, there was a breakfast meeting that I led the discussion on how Ghana can enter into the metal space. You know, when we are doing trading, we don't say gold, because gold is part of the precious metal. So that's what the discussion that we proposed. I mean, the person that we invited from the central bank came, and surprisingly, he mentioned that in as much as we are #1 producer, the gold that we have reserved since Kwame Nkrumah's time to that time, 2020, was 7.8 tons. So as a foundation, we mentioned to them we're going to assist the central bank in entering into the metal market in terms of trading. But our focus was not on the large scale, because, you know, the large scale are already doing whatever they need to do. We are more focused on the small scale, because if you look at the Getty report coming up, the small scale sector contributes almost 35% of the total gold production. At the same time, if you look at the Mining and the Minerals Act 2006, it clearly states and if you look at Act 703, that the small scale sector should not exceed 23 acres. And why? Because they are small scale, you need to provide support, financing, and even the regulation aspect in terms of licensing. So our focus was how do we support the government of Ghana so that this gold can be bought by the central bank or on behalf of the central bank. And we're lucky to, as I mentioned, the central bank saw the ideas and the expertise that we're bringing. So we did, I think, a whole 2-year training with them. One of the things that we realized that, one, Ghana had never been part of the trading program. Because if you look at Ghana, our main core is extracting the gold, exporting the gold to Dubai, India, Switzerland. So we have not been key with gold trading. So we shared the whole concept and the whole idea to the government that it will take time. To do this program will take you minimum 10 years to be able to achieve whatever you wanted to do. But you know, sometimes government wants things faster because of their promises, but we suggested to them. So the first thing we realized was the responsible sourcing and the due diligence program. More often, people buy gold in terms of the small scale, but you cannot even allocate where the gold is coming from. And this is one of the biggest issues in Ghana and across Africa. And for Ghana to be the #1 producer of gold, we realized that the small scale sector contributes a majority. I mean, they are key in the extracting industry.
But
so,
sorry to cut in. Talking about the small scale sector in itself, from the policy advisory's point of view, has it been streamlined enough?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that in 2020, that's why we realized that, because the central bank wanted to enter into the metal space. It means they wanted to be part of gold trading, because the Bank of Ghana had never been part of gold trading. All they do is to, look at the FX and the reserve. That is what they do. But we provided the idea that the Bank of Ghana, if you look at the World Gold Council program, which is the alternative program for sourcing gold, is encouraging central bank across the world, especially in Africa and Southern America, to be part of the metal space. That means they should start buying gold. So, but the challenges we saw was that, one, the responsible sourcing program that needed to be implemented was not in Ghana. So in that case, we realized that then we need to produce that policy for the central bank. And I think it took us almost 1 year to be able to do it because it's something new. We needed to bring the whole institution value chain together to make sure. And I must commend the central bank. They did a lot. They were ready for us, and we provided the policy for them. When we did the policy, if you look at the core mandate, and it's clearly stated in the Act, the BOG Act 2006, which is specifically known as 613, the central bank is allowed to buy gold or to hold gold, to export, and even return back the gold. And anytime the central bank tries to return the gold, there's a term we use, swapping. They can start to swap gold. So we realized that this is a core responsibility that they can fully enter into the gold for oil program. But it wasn't even good for oil. It was a term that, it was generally accepted by the various bodies that sit on gold trading, which is the domestic purchase program. So the domestic purchase program means that central bank, because they have enough cedis, the Bank of Ghana controls the money in Ghana. So because you have cedis, why don't you, give some to the various indigenous gold buyers, indigenous gold exporters, and even finance the small-scale miners, so that based on their produce, you can have the gold. So that was the domestic purchase program. But I think if you look at the EMT, the Economic Union Board, and the central bank, then later they said, then why don't you look at the competitive advantage of the country? If Ghana is producing more gold, and one of the key things that we are importing is oil, which is refined product, because you see, the government of Ghana have clearly stated that they need $400 million to be able to import a product, refined product, not even crude, refined product. So in that case, gold is something that is given, can easily, be used as a swap. So I think that's how come the gold for oil came. But on the perspective as in terms of policy, there were three things that we mentioned to them clearly, that if these are not in place, the program will not work. It may work for the short term, in the medium, and the long term, it won't work.
What are these three things?
Yes, so I think the first one was the responsible sourcing program. That means there have to be KYC programs in place, compliance, ensuring that whoever that is bringing the gold or whoever that you are giving money, has been well audited and they comply with the OECD program. And this is something that PMMC was not doing. We have to be straightforward. PMMC have never been part of responsible sourcing initiatives globally. They've not been part. So BOG, I remember the head of Gold Trade wrote a letter, a directive, together with the minister, Honorable Abu Jinapo. He did well. They wrote a directive to PMMC to be part of the program, the policy that we're designing for them. Later we'll talk about it.
But what was preventing PMMC from being part of the sourcing initiative?
Yes, so I think by then there was no act. Okay. So that's why I must commend the new government for trying to propose the legal framework. Because when you have the legal framework, that's where we can now come in and create the operational framework to support the project. And I think because PMMC, there was no act in terms of trading specifically on gold, PMMC realized that then they can use the existing law that builds on the PNDC law that they have to, buy the gold on behalf of the central bank. To me, I think that's where was creating the issue. And also, there was too much tension because, the exchange rate, the fluctuation was too high. And maybe we were not part of the meeting, but I think based on the EMT and PMMC, they thought it wise that they needed to quickly go into it. However, later the MD, which is my very own brother, Nanewa, came to us that 2025, they wanted to be part of the policy program that we designed. So that was the first thing. The second thing that I think has undermined the program is the international industry requirement. I think our whole focus with this gold for oil has been centered just in Ghana. Gold opens all doors. If you look at the metal space, the government does not have too much control on gold, even from extracting to exporting to the final refinery. So one of the things that we've not done well, and I think, and I must say this, both any government that comes, is we are not fully aware of the international requirements that allow us to trade gold in terms of the small scale. We have several certifications globally. One is the popular one we know, which is the LBMA, which is the London Bullion Market Association.
Folks, this is the big story segment on the AM show. And Kojo and I are here to steer the conversations for you. But we want to look at that directive that came yesterday because the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, has revoked all appointments and recruitments made into the public service after December 7th, 2024. And he says these last-minute appointments were inconsistent with the government's stated position on end-of-tenure recruitment. And we're asking, will the affected individuals have any remedies, legal or otherwise? And joining us for this conversation, Kojo, you want to bring in our guest?
So let's bring in Frank Davis. Now, he's chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Committee of the New Patriotic Party. Mr. Davis, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Now, first off, what do you make of this announcement by the government that all appointments after December 7th have been annulled?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your esteemed listeners and viewers. In the first place, I honestly do not see any constitutional basis, any executive authority, whatever derivation of power that they are exercising the Chief of Staff to come out with this announcement. I mean, I don't understand what is meant by government. What did your government establish government practices or priorities or whatever?
It says established good governance practices and principles.
Establish good governance practices, whatever that nomenclature. I mean, what is good governance practices? Government is a continuum. Government is not held in vacuum. The mere fact that there has been an election does not curtail the end or tenure of a constitutionally and democratically elected government. The question to be asked is whether, as at the time the recruitment or engagements were made, the government of the day had the executive and constitutional authority to make those appointments. So if those appointments are made in accordance with law and due process, what other governance principles and practices should overturn engagements which are done in tandem with the Civil Service Act and in tandem with the Constitution? I mean, all these things should be taken in relation with the Civil Service Act and the requirements, the details of the Constitution. The pronouncement or announcement runs route of the Constitution. Article 19(1)(b) of the Constitution is explicit that no one, no employee shall, the language is imperative, shall be dismissed from the civil service or shall be dismissed from the public service or punished or reduced in rank without just cause. That is what Article 19(1)(b) says. So on what basis is the Chief of Staff issuing the directive? Whatever, even if the Chief of Staff is minded to doing that, it has to be done in conformity with laid down established procedures and law. The Chief of Staff ought to work with the heads of the ministries, departments, and agencies to make sure necessarily that what is being done is in accordance with regulations and statutes. The chief of staff cannot arbitrarily issue a directive that people who have been lawfully and regularly engaged in the public service should be terminated or their engagement should be cancelled after 7th December. What's the basis of it? Indeed, with respect. Mr. Julius Zebra, this same chief of staff, on the 19th of December 2016, listen to me carefully, on the 19th of December 2016, he wrote a letter to Mr. Daniel Domolevo informing him that he had been appointed the Auditor General by the then president. At that time, there was no governance principles and practices. You see, we should stop doing this to ourselves as a country. Some of these things are rather populist. What is there to show that what? I mean, at that time, the 19th of December 2016, elections had been held on the 7th of December, and the NDC had lost the election. But they found it fit to appoint Domolo, who has been a very fine product of this country. Arguably, one of the rather hard-working Auditor Generals we have had in this country. I mean, there can be no argument about that. So when that appointment was made, was it revoked by the incoming government? His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo worked tirelessly with the Auditor General until he was asked to proceed on leave prior to his retirement. So what is new?
Well, yesterday, the Minister of State in charge of government communications, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, told Joy FM that, and I quote him, says the recruitment runs into the thousands. And you'll recall that during our engagement in the transition, we noticed that there were agencies that on their own were recruiting hundreds of people through very irregular processes. So the numbers are quite huge. Thousands of persons have been recruited irregularly through processes that would best be described as an exhibition of bad faith on the part of the previous government. That they feel that the processes that were used to hire these people were irregular, and that's why their appointment have to be terminated. And they say it runs into the thousands.
I am saying the cancellations, the reversals, or the revocations of the recruitments and engagements will have to be done in accordance with due process and law. So if, in their estimation, it was not done regularly, they will have to show cause. And you can't just, if you are saying that somebody was employed irregularly or was employed not in conformity with the regulations and statutes of the institution, you will have to prove that. It's not your say so. So yes, if they claim or if they think there's a basis for it, they should let us know. It cannot be done just out of nothing. Of course, if I've been engaged and my engagement is not regular, my engaging authority has every right to dismiss me, summarily or otherwise. But until that is proven, you can't just issue a blanket directive that all engagements and recruitments made after the 7th of December should be revoked. That was how the announcement was. So if they are now finding the justification for it, they should show cause why. It is there in the Constitution. Article 91B, you can read it for yourself. That is what he says.
Right. And so, yes, Mr. Deborah, this is the second time you're mentioning this article. I just want, for clarity's sake, Frank Davis, what is the actual process involved that you were expecting that this revocation or the termination of these appointments and recruitments, what's a process that you thought it should have gone through?
Madam, there is a process for engagement. So is there a process for termination? There is a process for engagement. Those persons did not just get up and go to those institutions. There is a process for engagement, so is there a process for termination. And I've said, all these revocations, cancellations, terminations, or whatever, should be done in accordance with due process and the regulations of law.
So what law are they citing then? Because I'm looking at the statement from Sorry? Go. You land on that point for me.
I said it cannot be done in a vacuum. The Chief of Staff, through his appointed representatives, will have to liaise with the heads of the ministries, departments, and agencies, special circumstances, special conditions.
Right.
And make sure that the termination and cancellations are in conformity with regulations and statutes. That's all. So if you're saying that somebody was employed, maybe, let's say, at ECG, or somebody was employed at any state-subvented institution, and the person has not been employed in accordance with law, they have their terms of engagement, they have the processes you have to go through to be engaged. So if those processes have been flouted, yes, you can terminate. But you can't just issue a blanket directive that all those appointments and engagements should be revoked and cancelled. That's what I'm talking about.
But as you've given us education on the fact that if you say it is due through irregular means, then you have to follow the due process. Doesn't that also mean that because it didn't follow the regular procedure, then it is those appointments are ab initio?
Have you investigated what he said? Why are you believing what the government spokesperson has said?
No, I'm just building it from the point where you said if they were through irregular means, then there are the due processes that they have to follow.
But it has to be established. If it is through irregular means, you have to establish that it was through irregular means. So you write to the person concerned. You are engaged on Saturday. You know you have to be engaged through this, and that. Because of that, this. So it has to go through a process. You can't just get up and dismiss the person. The person was engaged on an appointment letter. In the same way, if you want to terminate, you will have to state in the termination letter why you think the engagement or the recruitment was unlawful or irregular. It's as simple as that. If you have been employed at Joy, I'm talking to you directly now. If you have been employed at Joy, you have your general manager or whoever employed you, and then another general manager comes and says that your employment was irregular. What would that general manager have to do? Would he just call you and sack you? Would he just call you and sack you? No.
Okay.
They will have to indicate to you, the new general manager has to indicate to you why the old general manager's recruitment of your good self was not in tandem with the laws of Joy FM. You can't just be called the new general manager that cannot just issue a directive that, Mr. Kingsley, whatever, has been terminated because his employment was not in conformity with addictive. No.
Well, Mr. Davis, hold for us. We also have Austin Game online, and he's former Employment and Social Welfare Minister. I'm sure from his experience, he can help us put this in perspective. Mr. Game, thank you for joining the conversation. Now, Mr. Davis is citing procedural breaches, saying that there are due processes that were supposed to be followed before these appointments were terminated. But educators, what are the due processes and what's amiss? What did this government do wrong?
Well, I'm not too sure whether we are going to be talking about due process in this particular instance. There will be no pretense in this matter. From a purely professional point of view, every organization has establishment. Establishment in the sense that the number of people to be employed in that organization will be predetermined. Where there is an opening and you as head of department want to recruit, you have to apply on behalf of the people you want to employ. And when legitimacy is given to it, clearance is given by in this case, the Ministry of Finance, a warrant to be issued, giving clearance to enable the people to be employed. Advertisement to be placed, whether internally or externally. All these things will have to be gone through. People will have to go through it. And you go to the Public Services Commission, where interview will be conducted. And a marking scheme is assigned, because it's not going to be just one person sitting and interviewing the people. When that is over, and you are employed, you are going through probation. You are not yet a full-fledged worker. You are a probationary. And if you are a probationary, you can be gone anytime. Now, in this particular case, if we are talking about procedures, the only channel through which these people can be legitimized is when the transitional things got, going. The outgoing government should have tabled this at the transitional decision for the people to be, for these issues to be discussed and legitimated. And that will be it. Unfortunately, none of this was done. And they are going through probation. Any time you are probationary, you can be gone. And so this business about somebody not going through procedure and so forth and so on may not hold water. You can go to any court, including going to Geneva International Labour Organization. You will not win.
The process you enumerated, does it apply to all appointments into public service? The fact that you go through an interview at the Public Service Board and does it apply to everyone?
The only people that are recruited through a particular channel are essential service workers like nurses and teachers who do not often go through this kind of rigorous interview system. All of this, I've sat on a number of interview panels with the Public Services Commission and in the other organizations. And it is rigorous. You don't just walk in. Nurses are recruited en masse, and not like people they are not talking about nurses. This particular thing, they are not talking about nurses. They are talking about people who have no clearance, financial clearance, and therefore let's check from SNID whether they are paying their social security. Let's check whether they are paying their second tier. Let's check whether they are deducting their PAYE and paying it to GRA. So let's not politicize it. If you are employed through partisan political arrangement, when the government is going, you go with them, like it's done in any civilized society.
So is it your opinion that these last-minute appointments were, made to reward loyalists of the erstwhile government, outgoing government?
Some of them may genuinely have been looking for employment, and they were to be employed. But they may be favorites of the outgoing government, and they applied their Ghanaians. Normally, there shouldn't be anything wrong. This, if they really wanted to employ them, this could have been done some 2 years ago, 1 year ago. But employing people within a space of 3 months into your getting out of the system, I think it's most unfair, because the fiscal space, if it is dictated by the IMF, because we have agreement with them, it's not even by dictates of IMF. We have a staff agreement with them. And among other things, it is agreed that we should block employment for the meantime, except essential services. Did they go back to our submission before? And after all, there is always a workforce optimization kind of arrangement where we all know that you cannot overemploy people. This one, the fiscal space that is managed by the Ministry of Finance is simply bleeding already. You are going to create problems. They deliberately did it to choke the government that was coming into office. That's the point.
Okay.
Quite interesting, Mr. Game there.
Yeah, but Kojo, you see, all this comes down to timelines, right? The time that these appointments were made. And so I'm curious to find out, because it begs the question, should the government make appointments or recruits during the transition period? And Mr. Game, please take this for us. Because when you look at the statement, they're saying that these appointments and recruitments made in the public service of Ghana after December 7 are not in compliance with established good governance practices and principles. You just said that we should take out politics from this. Should government, or can the government make appointments and recruitment in the transition period?
So they should have laid it clear on the table with a transitional team. That's why there is transition. A transition is assumed that nothing exists, and that if you want to do something, we legitimize it through a process. And they should have put it on the table. Now look, we wanted to engage these people. There are X number of people. We have not sought clearance. They are going through a process. So this is it. Then they can confirm that and carry it over to the new government. When they requested this by them, they denied that. And now you wanted to legitimize an illegitimate thing. They can be Ghanaians, it doesn't matter. But there must be the fiscal space to enable them to be employed. I'm an employer, I have workers here. I've just employed one more person to add to my staff. But if there is no fiscal space, I will not employ them. That's just about it.
Okay, so the issue is no longer with established good governance practices and principles, but probably about the lack of fiscal space to accommodate these people who have been employed. Is that it?
No, it's a part of it.
Okay.
Good, I will add, I will not just say good, this is good, it's corporate governance. And good corporate governance, I may even want to add the word excellent corporate governance. You don't just employ people. Are we having assurance that they have done a study on ensuring that we have the established number that we can only accommodate in this organization? And now we want to add one more because we have a defect somewhere or we have technological problem and therefore we cannot do A, B, C, D. I'm a consultant. I've been consulting for a number of companies, private, public. And I can tell you on authority that you cannot just employ even one person. Sometimes you have to play it even with us who are outsiders in that organization. And if we say no, and you employ and there's problem, you carry your burden. That's exactly what they have done now. It's wrong.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, please hold for us. We will circle back to you, but let's come back to Mr. Davis. Sir, you've listened to the labor experts and consultants there. He says that really there's no issue here. I'm sure you have some responses. What are your reflections on the things that he said so far?
Well, good morning, Mr. Gamet. I think we are educating Ghanaians. When we come on such national platforms, I think the use of language should be tempered. I mean, this business of him talking about you can go to international, deliver, whatever, it was all unnecessary. It was all unnecessary. If he had listened to me carefully, as I listened to him, he would not have made some of the pronouncements he made. I am not oblivious of the fact. I am not oblivious of the fact. Indeed, because of the latest IMF conditionalities, I'm not oblivious of the fact that if you have to be engaged in the public service, you will have to go to the Public Service Commission. He doesn't have to educate me on that.
Mr. Davis, your voice keeps fading off, so could you try again?
I'm saying that I'm not oblivious of the fact. And indeed, because of the IMF conditionalities, I am not oblivious of the fact that if any person has to be engaged in the public service, that person has to go to the Public Services Commission. No, I'm not oblivious of that fact. And also that there has to be clearance from the Ministry of Finance before there can be engagement. We all know that. So if I'm saying that it should have been done in tandem with established procedures, regulations, that is exactly what I was referring to. So if there is evidence that there have been recruitment which were done with that clearance, why not? I mean, why not? If you need clearance to engage someone and you don't seek that clearance and you engage, that employment is illegal and it is void ab initio. So I was not saying anything differently from what he was saying for him to talk about political considerations. What is political considerations? Almost everything they say, they want to bring in politics. He is in political. He is talking about the government not being fair to the transition team. Yes, if there has been an agreement, I will go with that agreement. If the transition team has established that we met and we said after this date, let's all agree, both parties, in good faith, bona fides, that we are not going to engage after such and such a date. And there's such an agreement and there's an engagement which is made after that date. Yes, legally they can say that, look, we agreed on something, we have gone against the agreement. But if there has been lawful engagement, all I'm saying is that if there is lawful engagement, i.e. the person has gone to the Public Services Commission, there is clearance on the Ministry of Finance, you cannot just terminate.
Right.
In the language that the directive came, that cancel all recruitments and engagements after the 7th of December. No. If after the 7th of December, the person involved has gone to the Public Services Commission, there's clearance from the Ministry of Finance, and the person has been engaged, on what basis should you terminate? So, Mr. Austin Game, sometimes when we are talking on radio, let us stick to the facts. I did not say anything different from what you are saying. Your language
Mr. Davis,
is different,
fortunately for us, we have Felix Kwachofosu. He's Minister of State, Government Communications. He's joins us now via phone. Sir, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Looks like arguments are pouring in on the back of the revocation of appointments and recruitment. So on the one side, we have procedural breaches. That's what the minority is saying. Or should I say, Mr. Frank Davis is saying, procedural breaches. On the other side, Austin Game is saying that really nothing is amiss because the appointments were made, because of the time that the appointments was made, there's really nothing wrong here. But you speak for the government. How do you reconcile the arguments from both sides on the back of this revocation that...
I don't know who spoke just before you got to me.
Frank Davis.
His claim about financial clearance and all that do not hold water. The fact is that financial clearance means nothing more than an indication by the finance minister that they will find money to pay those who are employed. That is all that financial clearance means. However, when there is an election and a new government or a new party is elected to form government, it is that government that is incoming that would have to find the money. So any commitments that have any impact on our fiscal position must fairly and properly so-called be left for the incoming government to determine. It is a governance principle that we all must appreciate. It is a reason why in 2016, Mr. Osafo-Maafo indicated that the then incoming government was not going to be bound by any financial commitments made by the outgoing government. So,
Mr. Kwachofosu, sorry for cutting you there. But is it sorry for cutting you? But is this position backed by law that in fact?
No, but what is the law?
Okay.
It is government policy that determines how employment is conducted or when employment is conducted. It is not law. There's no law that compels government to employ anybody.
Okay.
Except that when you are going to be employed, there are processes that you go through. And in fact, right at the beginning of the transition process, I had cause to engage the media. And I told you that we have detected instances of clear breaches of recruitment procedure. There were instances where people who had not even put in an application letter were lined up for recruitment. There were some of them for whom no interviews were conducted. There were others who didn't go through mandatory medical tests, and others yet who received backdated letters, which sought to mislead everybody into thinking that the recruitment or employment was carried out months before it was actually done. And so you find that even though they have letters purporting to have recruited them months earlier, their names and details are not on the payroll. And if you did an audit, you won't find that they've received the first one from their employers. Therefore, we cautioned at the transition team meeting that it was important that we discuss this matter so that no adverse impact is felt by the incoming government. Because ultimately, when you employ people in the numbers that they stand, there's an implication for our finances. Government has to find the money to pay. So the government that is going to do the payments must be given the right to determine how it goes about this so that it does not jeopardize its own plans and programs. This is a principle that is acceptable. It's a principle that the NPP itself espoused in December 2016. So it cannot turn around and engage in this sort of action. In fact, we engaged them on about 2-3 occasions. On each occasion, they rebuffed our appeals and insisted that they were going to go ahead because they thought they had the right to do so. So you recall that on 17 December 2024, I issued a statement on behalf of the transition team side of the transition team of the NDC that we will be left with no option than to review and reverse these decisions if we find that there are irregularities and that it has been done in a manner that jeopardizes government's financial position. So everybody involved was given prior notice. They were fully aware of the consequences of going ahead to do these recruitments outside of the purview of the incoming government. And that is precisely what has happened.
But Mr. Kwachofosu, you said if you find out that there have been some breaches or irregularities, that's when you will revoke. But your statement that, that's come out is revocation of all recruitments and appointments that were made after December 7th.
If you read the Chief of Staff's letter, he refers to irregularities and breaches of good governance and good corporate practice. It is in the letter.
Yes.
So there's no point where anybody can say that we have not referenced that. In fact, the reason why we were alarmed in the first place to even raise the issue during the transition.
Mr. Kwashifosu, please hold for me.
In
your earlier submission, you mentioned that you had 3 meetings during the transition period. And this issue was raised. And they said they would go ahead and do whatever they wanted to do. And so you issued a letter, 17 December, explaining that if you found irregularities, these appointments and recruitments would be revoked. Or, revoked. But the statements coming is saying that you're revoking appointments and recruitments, all of them made after December 7th, and you're citing...
Because we have detected that they were...
Please, let me land on the question. Just 1 second. Let me land on this. And you're saying it's not in compliance with established good governance practices and principles. So please elaborate. What are these good governance principles that were breached?
But I have recounted them in my earlier submission. I have told you that there were some of them did not put in application letters because vacancies were actually not declared. There are some who did not go through.
Oh, that's not a good sound here, because I was going to go on and ask whether if there's not one person whose appointments could have been maintained, because that doesn't fall into whether it's, the irregularities that we are seeing.
A bit about appointment. If you look at the Public Services, the Public Commission Act, Public Services Commission Act, 1994. It says the president can appoint persons into the public service in consultation with the council of that particular commission. So really, was the president wrong? Because as of that time, he was still the president. Let's
throw this to the labor experts. Mr. Game, thank you for... Are you still with us?
We have Frank Davis.
Okay, we have Frank Davis. Mr. Davis, you listened to Felix Kwashifosu. Any response for us? First of all, he said that...
I listened to him carefully. But I think sometimes when we are talking, we should talk and look behind ourselves. I mean, what Mr. Ofosu-Kwakye was saying is exactly what I'm saying. I mean, how can you engage anyone without an interview? How can you engage anyone when the person has not put in an application letter for employment? How can you engage anyone when the person has not gone through a medical check or exercise? All I'm saying, and which is what he has also said, that if the appointments were regular and lawful, you cannot just terminate. So it is now that the explanation is coming. He is now alluding to the fact that they have actually stumbled upon some employees who did not go through regular process, due process. And that is exactly what I'm saying.
Right. Please hold, because he needs to complete his trail of thoughts for us, and we'll circle back to you. Mr. Kwashifosu, thank you for reconnecting. So you were in a process of ending your... Yes. But you keep saying some didn't have application letters, and there is. But your directive is saying all appointments and recruitment. So the question is, was there not one person in that category who didn't have...
All these recruitments were rushed. It appeared that having lost the elections, the then government was eager to push in people into the civil service. And we suspect, not that their political collaboration is a problem, but we suspect that these are mostly MPP supporters that they wanted to put in place before they left. So all the recruitments that were made had some form of irregularity or the other. In fact, as I speak to you, we have received representations from CROSAC who have furnished us with a tall list of persons who have been recruited to fill civil service positions who have actually not gone through any process to become civil servants. So the problem is even wider. It's even much wider, I beg your pardon, than we are seeing it or we are speaking to. So we are not doing anything contrary to Ghanaian law, and we are confident that this will stand the test of any legal process. But the point has to be made that when we are building the country, we have to do so properly. There's no point trying to ambush a government simply because we've lost elections. We have to learn to concede defeat and allow incoming governments to make decisions that have future implications. This government had 8 or the past government had 8 years to do any recruitment that they wanted. So why wait till after election to conduct recruitment in such a hurried manner, and in the process have the whole process riddled with so much irregularity as to compel the incoming government to take this sort of action? Let me stress though that in due course, proper processes will be invoked to ensure that any Ghanaian who deems himself qualified or fit to be recruited into any position in government can apply. And those whose appointments have been revoked are also eligible to apply. Insofar as they go through due process, there will be no difficulty giving them these jobs because we are not interested in throwing people onto the street. We are a government that campaigns heavily on employment creation. But that employment creation must be done within the purview of the law and within budgetary limitations and constraints.
So Mr. Kwajofosu, there is not even a single one of them in these thousands who take all the bosses before being employed.
All the recruitments made after December 7th were riddled with these irregularities. In fact, the only exceptions are those who are appointed to statutory positions because the criteria is quite rigorous and you cannot do anything about it. So you find that there are people who are appointed into controller and accountant general and other places. Those are statutory positions. And therefore, you find that we have not had any qualms with it because the processes were complied with.
Mr. Kwajofosu, I'm wondering, having gone through transition and this issue coming up now, does it reveal some gaps in our transition process? Should we be reviewing how we transition so that issues of employment and recruitment don't come up every time there's a change in government? What have you found?
So. Yeah. Indeed, I've had cause in the last few days to lament what I believe to be inherent weaknesses in our transitional processes and law. Because of the gap between winning an election and taking over, the system virtually collapses. What actually happens is that whereas the party that has won has no real power until it is sworn in, the party in government also instantly loses interest in governance because they are yet to recover from the shock of the defeat. In the process, there are people who exploit the lethargy that is occasion and do all manner of things. I have advocated, for instance, a shortening of the transition period so that we don't have too long a break that will enable people to exploit the process and do all manner of things that are irregular. I think that perhaps we have to codify it, put it in the law explicitly, that after elections, no significant activity can be engaged in that has any significant fiscal impact. That is recruitment, payments, and major decisions cannot be made unless, of course, it models on national security and what have you. Perhaps the way to go is to codify it. I would have thought that parties in government would exercise sound judgment and note that it is not everything that you need to do, even if you think you have the power to do it. That, for me, is a way to go to ensure that this then, so that when the NDC someday loses elections, we should not be able to recruit people in the dying members of our administration. It is not proper. It is not fair.
So your governments won't do it then?
To the government that will be taken over from us.
Is that what you was? So your governments won't do it then?
It is not something that we are going to do. In fact, when we attempted to do so in 2015, the MPP protested strongly. And I'm sure you have seen that famous letter written by Mr. Osafoma protesting. And in fact, when they came to power, we had actually recruited about 8,000 nurses in December of 2016. They revoked that.
Okay.
So Mr. Ofusukwachi, when you leave it to government, like we've done in the past, they will do what they deem right because the president still is the president, so they can go ahead to do it. But can we do something that is binding, that really stipulates that if you're a government exiting, you cannot do A, B, and C, so we don't get back to all of those situations that we find ourselves now?
Ordinarily, there's a school of thought that it is not everything that you can legislate. In other words, it is not everything that should be regulated by law. There are some things that you yourself should know. You understand me? The job you are doing now, it is not everything that is written in black and white, but you have ethical standards that you need to meet. For instance, I don't think there's any law that says I cannot use vulgar language as I'm speaking to you. But the ethics of your profession will not permit me to use vulgar language. The moment I use vulgar language, you will take action. Either you cut off or you censor me public. You understand the point I'm making? So ordinarily, it would have been ideal if government acted on the basis of sound judgment and refrain from doing some other things. There are some things too that are regulated by convention. It is not law, but it has become practice over the period. And it is good, so you do them. But it appears that governments, if left to their own devices, will do as they please. And therefore, perhaps it has become necessary now to codify these things. In other words, put them in our law and make it impossible to breach without consequences. That perhaps is the way that we should go. And it's not only in relation to recruitment. There are many, many things. For instance, the post-election violence that we see, it has become a subculture. And it's not going to be addressed purely as a law and order issue. Because of gaps that exist in the transition process, people exploit the system in order to exact vengeance against people who they perceive to have wronged them in the past.
Mr. Kwashiorkor, how many, sorry, I have to rush you for the sake of time. How many people will this directive be affecting? Do you have a fair idea of how many people were recruited?
Oh, they run into the thousands. There are organizations that recruited as many as 150, some days 700, and what have you. So they run into the thousands. But eventually, we will get the full figure.
Okay, so it means as we speak, you don't have the total number of people who will be affected.
No, I don't have it off my head, but I know that it runs into the thousands. But I'll get the exact numbers and share them.
All right. Thank you so much.
Now let's bring in Mr. Frank Davis. But just before, we have a directive from the Ghana Water Company Limited. It says, this serves as a formal directive regarding the appointment made in November 2024. It has been decided to suspend new recruits who were appointed in November 2024 and posted to your respective regions and who are not on the payroll as of January 2025. This is to allow for an assessment of the situation and a comprehensive audit of the process leading to the engagement. Management will issue further directives when the need arises. But this says November.
Yeah.
But a directive from the Chief of Staff says
December 7th. Yeah.
Well, okay, so Mr. Frank Davis, is there a legal, remedy for the people who will suffer because of this sort of directive?
Thank you. I want to believe that Mr. Owusu-Kwakye is still on. Mr. Owusu-Kwakye, MP, Honorable Minister of State.
He's not, but I'm sure he'll hear you. Yeah.
Over Communication Minister. We are all Ghanaians, sir. All of us are Ghanaians. I sit in here from Davis. I have nowhere to go apart from this motherland, Ghana. We all have to strive to make it a better country. So if we do things which sits right with all of us, nobody will complain. We are all Ghanaians in the first place. All of us. I'm not Nigerian. I'm not Togolese. I'm a Ghanaian. So whatever we do that sustains the economy of the state should be applauded by all. But when things happen and we seek clarity, we should all talk in terms of clarity. We should not use political collaborations. And Madam, I'm sorry, you referred to me in one of your discourses as for the minority. I'm not here for the minority, I beg you. I'm not speaking for any minority.
Yes, that's okay.
For myself, yeah. So let us get that right. In any event, now that clarity has been brought to bear, you asked him a significant question as to the directive which came. And we should all be honest about it. The directive was blanket. I read it myself. I read it on 3 different platforms. It was blanket. It said all recruitments and engagements made after December 7th should be revoked. There was nothing in that directive which said should be done with guidelines, nothing. I have read it, you read it. You posed him the question. Now he is bringing clarity. And Ghanaians would appreciate the clarity. He is educating all of us. We all appreciate it. I cannot, for myself, I cannot see how anybody can be employed when the person has not gone through an interview or the person has not been engaged formally by the institution and you are employed. How can I defend you in court? I can't. That is what I said from the outset, that all these things will have to be done in tandem and in conformity with established procedures and laws. If processes have been gone through properly and someone has been engaged regularly and lawfully, you cannot just terminate because you are an incoming government. Indeed, he was talking about codification of the Transitional Provisions Act. Yes, if there's an agreement, if 2 parties have met and they have agreed that, look, after December 7th, let us, all of us in fairness and in sanctity to the details of what we are doing, let us cut off a point that after the 15th of December, we cannot recruit again because the incoming government has to look at its finances, how much is left in the kitty to be paid to him. If that agreement is breached, then yes, there's a cost.
So, but Mr. Davis, are you saying that having got that clarity from Felix Kwatiofosu now, it sort of waters down your concerns when we first started the conversation?
Of course, because now he's talking about due process. Of course. He's not talking about due process. He's brought clarity that they are going to investigate the cases. You asked him how many have been terminated. He said he didn't have it off his head. Yeah. You go through the books and confirm. I mean, so if these things are done in conformity with due process, who can complain? But who gets employed without an interview? If you have been given an appointment letter and you know you have not gone for an interview, would you be comfortable to go and work? I mean, come on, it is basic common sense and logic. So if there is clarity now, they are going to take cases individually. You even said, I read the post of Ghana Water. Now the chief of staff is saying December 7th. The Ghana Water acting MD, Mutawalukulu, or I can't pronounce the name well, Adam Mutawalukulu, he is talking about November 24th. A month before December, a month and a half before December 7th. So which is which?
So
yes?
Well, Felix Kwatiofosu was saying that perhaps we need to review the transition process. What does that look like from your perspective?
I don't have any problem with that. If the Transitional Act, if the Transitional Provisions Act is not answering some of the concerns and it has to be reviewed, why not? Because we all want a just and safe country for all of us. So if certain things ought to be done right, who am I to challenge? But I think he has agreed with me largely. Well, what I said from the beginning, I didn't say anything inimical to what he has said. I said that there should be established procedures and conformity with due process and the rule of law. That's what he said. We want clarity. The clarity has been brought. So, yes,
all right, please hold. Let's get back to Austin Gami. Sir, thank you for staying with us through it all. I'm sure you've listened to both sides of the argument till this point. Oh, I'm told that we don't even have Austin Gami. So let's give you the final word then, Frank Davis.
Oh yes, I mean, I think in all of these things, if government takes a decision, it behoves on government to explain to the generality of the public that this is what we intend to do and this is what we are going to do. But that blanket statement which came raised queries and worries. So now, if the minister responsible for government communication has come to say that they are going to investigate the cases one after the other, where there are breaches and there are procedural flaws, they are going to take action. Fine. Like I said from the beginning, nobody gets employed without an interview. Nobody gets employed without an interview.
Well, thank you so much. Well, we are fortunate to have Austin.
But just before we let Mr. Davis go, Mr. Davis, Ghana Water Company reacting or acting on this directive, they are even going a step back to say that those who were appointed in November 2024 and posted to respective regions who are not on the payroll as of January 2025 are supposed to be let go. I mean, is this enough? Is it because they are not on the payroll they can be disengaged like that?
No, but how on earth can this be regular? How? When you get engaged in November, how would you be on payroll by January 2025? If the person who issued that statement understands what it takes for a newly employed person to get onto the payroll of an institution, he will not issue that letter. I think he should have consulted his human resource department before writing that letter. If you are engaged in November 2024, how do you get onto the payroll for January 2025? It doesn't happen. In any event, you will have to go through a probationary period of at least 6 months before you get fully engaged.
And Mr. Game said, when you are in the probation period, you can go out, you can be let go at any point in time. So maybe,
of course, that is why you're on probation. If you involve yourself in gross misconduct, which goes against your articles of engagement, you'll be dismissed summarily.
That is if you engage in misconduct. But if you look at this statement,
if you engage in misconduct, if your institution finds out that you are not even alive, you are not alive to the terms and schedule of your work, they can call you aside and say, "Look, young man, young woman, I think we made a mistake in employing you, so I don't think you are qualified to be or to hold this role. We thank you so far for what you have done. Please let's part company. It's as simple as that. That is why you're on probation. Okay. Probation does not mean you have been engaged. You only get engaged after a probationary period. Okay, all right. Because the Ghana Water Company letter does not state that they've engaged themselves in any misconduct. But good. No. But the Ghana Water letter is even so big and ambiguous. The only thing that is said is that if you are not on payroll by January 2020, but is it the fault of the employee that he or she is not on payroll? I mean, that is not his remit. That is not the employee's remit. If you engage me, I don't put myself onto your payroll. It's the institution who puts you on this payroll. I mean, so how can that be my betting? So can the affected go to court or seek legal action on this? Well, if you are terminated and you think you have not been terminated with just cause, why? What stops you from doing it? Okay. That is where we vindicate our rights. Or Kingsley? Well, we're just about, we're letting you go, but this morning we had information that the former finance minister, Ken Oforiatta's house, has been raided by some joint team of military and police, as well as plain security personnel. What are you picking from this particular raid? Well, I really am baffled with some of these things. And I hear my brother Ken was out of jurisdiction when this happened. I mean, Ken Oforiatta is a known person in this country. I mean, he's a known person in this country. If the military wants to go and undertake an exercise in the south, I mean, simple question. Just call him and notify him that we are coming. Why? Is he a fugitive from justice? Why do you raid his home when he's even not in the country? And then what? We are in a constitutionally elected democracy, for Christ's sake. I mean, let us do things properly. I don't think some of these things bode for good governance. Please. Please and please.
Well, thank you so much.
Let's put people through unnecessary trauma when nothing has been established against them. I mean, what was the raid in aid of? To go and look for arms? Or to go and look for counterfeit money? Or what?
Well, thank you so much, Frank Davis, for joining the conversation. He's Chairman, Constitutional and Legal Committee for the New Patriotic Party. Let's bring in Austin Game. You are our final guest, sir. Thank you for staying with us. So you've listened to both sides of the argument. Now we have some clarity. The spokesperson for the government, Felix Kwachifosu, was saying that all these appointments and recruitments were marred, one way or the other, by irregularities, and that's why this directive. But how do you reconcile everything we've said so far?
Well, to be very honest with you, everything that has been done during this transitional period, or just before the transitional period, was not done, with a purpose of helping the nation. It's about helping Ghana. That's the number one priority. And so if your actions are going to set back or cause further bleeding of the state, obviously something drastic will have to be done. The people concerned might be Ghanaians in totality, but when something is illegitimate, it's illegitimate. I've heard my brother Frank Davis talking about this thing. If you are on probation, you don't need to misconduct yourself to be told that you should go away. Misconduct has another disciplinary process. But when you are on probation, that's why it is probation. Any time from day one to the end of the probationary period, you are vulnerable. Unless you are performing the role you have been assigned properly, or there is room for improvement upon your work, then that's that. Then when you are confirmed, nobody can touch you unless you go through the process as established by the organization. But in this particular case, it's all purely partisan politics. And when something is partisan, it has to be dealt with from partisan point of view. That's just about it. And now, two, people who have been employed, about a company that employs about 100 people, 200 people, is there a vacancy?
what role are they supposed to play individually? I mean, the whole thing is bizarre. And when you are on an IMF program and all of you agreed with the fund that you will not be employing people except emergencies, such as nurses, maybe security services, or maybe in some cases teachers, and you bypass that and employ clerks and some debt collecting people, I mean, it cannot be so. This is not a construction firm where you are employing the people on contract for service over a certain period of time and then you get them off. That's not the case. It's not an emergency thing where a certain group of tourist people are coming and you are employing people to handle people in a hotel. When the tourism fair is over, then they are going away. Right. This is public and civil service. You cannot do that. It's not doable anyway.
Okay. So, Mr. Game, are there provisions made to for the states to provide legal aid of a sort to those who will be affected by stuff like this? Do we have state attorneys who could take up cases of those whose appointments have been terminated if they decide to pursue it? Because Frank Davis was saying that that's an option they could have, and Felix Kwashifosu was also saying that they could reapply when the application window opens next time. But can the state assist them?
Two sides of the coin. One, if they so choose, which I would not advise them to do, but if they so choose to pursue it, then the route they can go is to go to the National Labour Commission or go to the legal aid where you can be assisted that way. But I don't see them having any legitimate case to go and pursue. Now, the other leg that the Honorable Minister talked about, clearly, I have said it several times already, that they should get out quietly and regroup themselves individually and apply when the time comes and the window is open. I think that with time, what I expect the government to do is to create a proper Bureau of Labor and Statistics so that the Labor Department would properly put on board, because there will be gathering of data. If there is opportunity, you don't need even anybody to announce it in any paper, because they have to digitize that place, and that is what the labor law expects them to do under Section 6. Okay. And I think I've heard the NDC itself mention it in their 2020 manifesto, repeated in 2024 manifesto, that they will create that window of opportunity. So people should relax, and when the time is due, they can apply. For now, they can even go to Geneva ILO and they will still not win. I don't see them winning. So nobody should deceive them.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Austin Game. He's a labor expert. And we also had joining the conversation Frank Davis. He's chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Committee of the New Patriotic Party, as well as Felix Kwashifosu. He's Minister of State, Government Communications. And all this was on the revocation of recruitments and appointments made after December 7th. As a directive coming from the government.
And Ghana Water takes it further by saying that all recruitment done in November, they should be allowed.
We should talk to them and find out why they are extending the timelines that the government is provided. But let's give you some important details that you absolutely need to hear. I'll start with Solar Mates Ghana. Now, you want to select a solar system from our various solar packages ranging from 30,000 Ghana cedis to 99,000 Ghana cedis. And all our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. So get a solar water heater, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. And we also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment with galamsey polluting our water and all. You want to look to Solar Mates Ghana for these water treatment options. You can Google Solar Mates Ghana and find them both on Instagram and on Facebook, or simply call 050-832-0470. Solar Mates Ghana is also located at Adringano, East Legon. Solar Mates, we go everywhere. And Brace will tell you about Syntex Tank.
Now, this Valentine's Day, we know what you want. Something strong, something reliable, and definitely something that won't let you down. But Charlie, we're not just talking about bail, we're talking about syntax tanks. Like True Love, syntax tanks are built to last. They handle pressure like a pro, stay solid through all the ups and downs, and promise no disappointment. So, this Valentine, whether you're storing water or storing memories, choose something that will stick with you for the long haul. Call 0244-335-168 or visit www.syntaxgh.com to get yours today. Syntax tank, air strong, air tough. All right.
Well, coming up, we will take you to Kumasi on that chaotic situation happening there. But more when we come back from this break.
The police team deployed for the election was led by the Ashanti Regional Commander, DCOP Frank Abrokwa. Some of the officers were stationed at the entrance of the residency of the Regional Coordinating Council, where the election was held. They screened and turned away persons who were not accredited to be at the premises. It was the first point that our cameras caught the thugs who were challenging the authority of the police. One of the 12 candidates for the election, Frederick Ejay, explained the EC restricted delegation of each of the candidates.
Because the EC made it clear to us that each aspirant should come with 4 agents, and the 4 agents, they are going to be allowed to enter the premises. So I don't know where. I even came around, I saw the metro men around. I don't know where they came from. I don't know how they were able to enter because, you know, a lot of policemen were around. I mean, security personnel were around. Even my driver, they didn't allow my driver to enter. And I accepted because the EC said 4 people together with the candidate is going to be allowed to enter the premises.
The thugs were later seen at the inner perimeter where the election was held, though they had no accreditation. Former Municipal Chief Executive of Obuasi, Oforiajiman, was seen with the thugs. They approached the candidates' tents to offer handshake to the NDC Regional Chairman, Nana Kwesi, and another candidate, Yao Obimpe, a former chairman of the party. It was at the sorting stage where these thugs disrupted the process. It is alleged the NDC former chair, Yao Obimpe, was losing the election, leading to the disruption.
In the course of the sorting, we saw that the metro men invaded. You know, there were some barricades. So the metro men invaded, and then the chaos started. Everything was disrupted. What they saw, maybe they thought that maybe it may not go in their favor, so they had to, you know, evade. And I think this is very, very bad. This is very bad because looking at how far we've come, how our democracy, we've grown to get to this point, and it's still, anytime we conduct election, we don't, you know, experience this kind of peaceful election. It is very bad.
The men later followed the EC to forcibly take away the polling materials, salvaged and destroyed them. Leading candidates among the 12 are former chairman of the NDC, Yao Obimpe, and member of NPP's Council of Elders, Nana Nkansa Buadu. Prior to the election, the process was characterized by partisan politics. It is speculated that the candidates paid money to the delegates. For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Well, let's discuss this. This was supposed to be a rather peaceful one, Kojo Brace, because it's not a major election. Just 16 people from 16 regions. And again, a sprinkle of chaos.
And it's Council of State. You are the ones who are going to advise the president on how to do things in terms of governing this country. So we expect that in your election, we'll be seeing some of these.
And this is what we see.
Yeah.
But let's speak to Nana Ojima. He was boots on the ground yesterday, and he brought us the story. But let's get a conversation with him to help us put it in perspective. So, Nana, thank you for joining us. as we speak this morning, they have not concluded on that election in the Ashanti region, have they?
Not yet. This morning at 10 a.m., some of the aspirants are going to meet the EC, have deliberations on what transpired yesterday and the way forward. After that, I understand that the aspirants will be meeting the police hierarchy in the Ashanti region to also have a conversation on investigations and also try to give police some leads that will help police apprehend people that they believe are perpetrators of the crime that we witnessed not long ago. Also, there is information that I have been picking up from the police hierarchy in the Ashanti region. It is widely speculated in the police hierarchy that a new commander is being sent or dispatched to the Ashanti region. It is unclear what the role of this new commander will be, and it's also unclear what will be the fate of the police commander and DTOP Frank Abrokwa, who yesterday led his team or led the men to the grounds for the election. That is what we have so far. This morning there will be a series of meetings between the delegates and top security officials and also delegates and the EC. And after these meetings, we expect the way forward to be communicated.
Now, hold for us. Let's engage Kwame Owusu-Bampo. We understand he was actively involved yesterday in the chaos. He's a campaign manager for Team Rose Hamilton. Let's also hear his side of the story. Sir, thank you for joining the conversation. I'm told that his line has dropped this morning. But Nanayao, how did the police manage to restore calm at the place yesterday?
Yesterday, there were a number of police personnel on the ground. Not less than 100 police officers were present at the Regional Coordinating Council being designated to ensure peace on the ground. Some of these men were among those who were overpowered by these people we believe to be affiliates of the National Democratic Congress. They were overpowered and they caused the chaos that we witnessed yesterday.
But Nanaya, I want to Nanaya, hold for me. How are you making that inference that they are suspected NDC people? What gives you that inkling that they may be NDC?
So from the story just watched on TV, these people walked into the arena, the voting arena, with the former MC for Obuasi, Mr. Okorajiman, who is an NDC man, an active NDC person, and he is he was vetted for the KMA role. Secondly, immediately these people came in, some of them were in party colors, and they also went straight to the party chairman for the NDC, Augustus Andrews Nanakwesi, and also they went to the candidate who is the former NDC chairman of the Ashanti region, Yao Bimpe. These people were seated together. They walked to them and greeted them.
Nana, you know what? I would have to let you pause here. Let's bring in Kwame Owusu-Bampo. We'll come back to you so we can continue this and wrap up this conversation. But Mr. Bampo is a campaign manager for Team Rose Hamilton, and they were also involved in all of this. Mr. Bampo, grateful for you to join us here on the AM show. What really brought about all of the altercations we saw yesterday at our grounds?
Thank you for having me, and I will take this opportunity to extend my greetings to your audience. As it has already been reported by your reporter, yesterday, being 11th of February 2025, was a day scheduled to electing various reps representing the regions in the Council of State, of which my candidate, Madam Rose Hamilton, was also an aspirant. So we went for a security briefing, and it was agreed that police was going to take in charge of all the security activities that would happen over there. So nobody should bring in men to come and provide security. And this was agreed at the Regional Police Commander's office. Again, they told us that, including the candidate herself, she has additional 3 people to come and help her, being their agent. So, in all, we're expecting that candidates will come with 4 it's making 62 rather, because 12 by 4, 62. And in all, we're having 43 districts, and each district was supposed to provide 2 people to form the electoral college. So we were expecting 86 people as delegates or forming the electoral college. So the election started around 8:30. I was at office around 5 a.m., but the election took place around 8. It went on successfully. We finished with the election. During the sorting, we did the sorting and we started counting. The moment the counting started, we saw, people coming from nowhere, entering into the premises, brutalizing people, destroying things. They destroyed the ballot box, tearing the papers apart, which couldn't permit the EC to be able to complete the exercise. So at the end of the day, we were not able to declare a winner. Because the ballot papers which we were going to use to count and determine who won the election was destroyed. By my view, and as an eyewitness who was standing there as an agent, it was obvious that my candidate was going to win. But I can't say it because the counting was not done. But this is undemocratic. This is something that we need to condemn it. If we want a democratic country like Ghana to thrive and be the beacon of Africa in democracy, this is not an act or attitude which we should condone.
The people who you say invaded the premises and started destroying the ballot, were they in any uniform?
Some were in camo, some were in ordinary attire, but we can't identify. I don't know how even they got the opportunity to enter or invade into the inside. They were much like for the build people.
Well, you also mentioned that it was obvious that your candidate was going to win, although counting had not happened. How did you arrive at such a conclusion?
So, when you finish, you pour the papers from the ballot paper onto a table. Then you do the sorting. So during the sorting, you do counting of it, which is not done by the East. I get to the point here. So as a candidate, agent for my candidate, I have to be smart enough to know the papers and how things were going. And you could see the ballot paper which was piled there. My candidate one, you have to press it because he was leading, although counting had not begun. But when we were doing the sorting, it was evident, and it was known, publicly known, that Mrs. Rose Hamilton was going to declare a winner at the end of the day.
Right. Prior to this...
It means that sorting had already been done?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And prior to this, was there any pre-existing tension between your candidate and her opponent?
No. We all had, they had a handshake. We were all sitting there. I don't know where these people even came from. I don't know who, was masterminded all this, or was the brain behind it. Because we thought at the RCC, which is the head of the governors in the Ashanti region, where we have to provide, all the security. We didn't anticipate that this thing was going to happen over there.
So going forward, are you pursuing legal action? How do you intend to bring this matter to some finality?
So as I was speaking to you, we're in the meeting with the campaign management team, taking the decision. But first and foremost, you want to go and visit the EC, see their health, if some were injured or, and then you see from them. Because they are responsible for organizing this election. And from there, you move to the police headquarters also to find out the way forward. But it's not decided anything yet on. But what we have to do now, we have to, have dialogue with these various institutions, and from there we take it on.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for also telling your side of the story. And but have you heard anything from the Electoral Commission itself?
Not yet.
No communication at all since yesterday?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Kwame Owusu-Bampo. So, Kwame Owusu-Bampo is campaign manager for Rose Hamilton, one of the candidates for yesterday's Council of State elections. Nana Ojima, thanks for staying with us. Yes. Nanaya was telling us how he arrived at the conclusion that some of those thugs were suspected NDC sympathizers. And I'm asking Nanaya because sometimes when we report what we see, people come out and ask you, well, why are you tagging this as NDC and NPP? So you were boots on the ground. So let's start again. How did you arrive at that conclusion that these were suspected NDC thugs?
So from immediately the nominations were filed for this election, it has been widely speculated, and even some of the aspirants accept that it's a war between, or it's an election between the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, though the Council of State election is supposed to be non-partisan. The reason for this is that Yao Osu-Bimpe, who was contesting in one of the leading candidates, is a known member of the National Democratic Congress. Yao Bimpe himself was the chairman of the NDC in the Ashanti region, so he has the NDC base supporting him. Also, Nana Nkansa Boadu, who happens to be the chief of Agric-Nzema, was once a Council of Elders member for the New Patriotic Party, and he's a known member of the NPP in the Ashanti region. Even during the NPP Regional Delegates Congress, where the chairman and other positions were chosen, or they elected the chairman, he himself was on the ground supporting the chairman of the NPP in the Ashanti region, Chairman Wuntumi. And also his campaign team is made up of some known NPP faces. So everything it is believed that these two are NPP people. Also, Rose Hamilton is a known sympathizer of the New Patriotic Party. At a point, he was one of the financiers for the NPP in the just ended election. So it showed that these are people who are affiliated with political parties. Now, when we got there, it was obvious that NDC had a lot of presence on the ground. A lot of known NDC people, foot soldiers, people who are in party leadership, who are in leadership roles in the Ashanti region. The organizer of the NDC was actively working for Yao Obimpe on the ground. He was one of the campaign people for him. Mr. Opori Ajiman, popularly known as King Zuba, who happens to be one of the people who are contesting for the KMA mayor in the Ashanti region, was also on the ground leading a team for the NDC, working actively for Yao Obimpe. Now, these people who disrupted the process came in with Mr. Opori Ajiman, and even in the videos that we showed on TV, he is seen in their midst, having conversations with them and fraternizing with them. There's no way I can be convinced that these are not people who are affiliated to the NDC. They came in and also marched straight to where the aspirants are seated and offered handshakes to with the NDC chairman and also the aspirants in the election. It was after this that, during the sorting process, that these people went straight and attacked the EC and other officials that were present. And the attack, from the conversations that was happening within some of the party supporters, the soldiers who were on ground, some of them actually were in support of what they did to disrupt the election. Because to some, their candidate wasn't, from the sorting, it looks like their candidate was losing, so they needed to do something to disrupt the election. Because to a lot of people on the ground, the conversations they were even having before the election, it was clearly stated that if someone should be elected to represent the Ashanti region on the Council of State, it should be a known NDC person who they believe will have the well-being of the government at heart to be a member of the Council of State.
Well, thank you, Nana Ajima. Do you have any updates to share with us in terms of the EC communication or the police, Ghana Police Service? Yeah. Any updates so far?
Not yet. We've been trying to get the EC from yesterday, but our phone calls to the EC officials haven't been answered. Yesterday we went there, but the place was cordoned off, had police presence on the grounds to protect the EC officials and others. Also, we are yet to have any communication from the police in the region. The communication we have now is coming from the national level, which says that the police are trying to track down people they believe were part of those who perpetrated the crime that was seen at the Regional Coordinating Council yesterday. Also, this morning, we've been picking some information from some of the top hierarchy of the police in the Ashanti region. It looks like a new commander is being sent to the Ashanti region. It's unclear where lies the fate of the present commander, Mr. Frank Abrokwa, who led the police team to the Regional Coordinating Council yesterday.
That's regional correspondent there, Nana Ojima, reporting from the Ashanti region on yesterday's chaos that marred the Council of State elections that we saw, bringing us all the details over there. Kojo, looks like we can't actually have any election in this country without a sprinkle of violence. But
yeah, but this one in particular should have been devoid of that. Yeah. I don't know how it came about.
So unnecessary.
It has to serve as a lesson going into the future. But some people have started sharing releases from 2017. And I've seen one that is from Wednesday, February 8, 2017. It says, withdrawal of recent staff recruitment for the National Service Scheme. The management of the National Service Scheme has, on the advice of the Minister of Education, withdrawn the National Service staff recruitment, which was done in December 2016 with immediate effect. This decision has been informed by a thorough consideration of violations of due process prior to the recruitment. These included petitions to the Public Service Commission against the recruitment process, upon which the Public Services Commission, in a letter dated 16 November 2016, advised the former acting executive director to halt the recruitment processes until the matter was properly resolved. This was, however, ignored, and appointment letters were issued to some persons on 15 December 2016. Management therefore wishes to advise persons affected by this decision to look forward to a new opportunity to have the staff recruitment properly carried out.
They say the internet doesn't lie, huh?
You see Mustafa, acting executive director. But you know, this one gives more details. It gives, you know, reasons why this is being done. But I think that the point is that it was done.
It's not the first time we're seeing this. Yeah. Well, let's give some birthday shout-outs to our friends. Happy birthday going out to Uncle Joseph Osei-Ajima, not my uncle. May God bless you. May the Lord keep you. May He cause the work of your hands to prosper and grant you the grace to be steadfast in godliness. Happy birthday. And this is coming from, I believe, Benjamin Akakpo. And then another one going to, it says 5 decades of love, laughter, and adventure. What an incredible journey indeed. What an incredible journey. Wishing you many years, many, many more years of happiness and joy. Happy birthday, Benjamin Nkumsa from Teachers and Educational Workers Union of TUC, University of Ghana, Legon. When we return from that short break, we would love to hear from you. We'll get straight into the Have Your Say segment. So the phone lines will be displayed. You get to call Kojo and Ajo today and they have a conversation.
So I wanted us to do a bit of Ghanaian language, you know.
Is it no
Nkumsa?
Nkumsa. Ono chaden.
Nkumsa.
Nkumsa chaden.
Or is in.
Okay. On the Mebucha and Nkumsa and Pocha, Fachem. Meaning no Nkumsa. We'll take a break and return where you have your say. Please stay with us. Have your say. This is the segment, Kojo. And I think we want to hear them on 3 main issues.
Yeah. So we're talking about the recruitment, the decision to revoke
those
the appointments that were done post December 7.
Yeah.
We're also talking about the chaos that erupted at the Council of State election.
Yeah.
At some spot, we know of the Ashanti region, we know of the Greater Accra, we saw it. And also about that particular raid at the residence of the former finance minister and operator. So these are the
issues, right? We actually have our first caller. Let's usher in Hamza from Ashaman. Hamza, good morning. Afwan.
Morning, sweetie. I'm fine. I can only hear
That's fine.
It. If you continue to speak,
yeah, have your say. Have your say, Hamza.
Okay, please, where is Benjamin? It's been a while.
He took a short break.
Yeah.
All right.
He'll be back soon, don't worry.
Kojo, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I said, why is the MPP crying so loud? They are just being served with the food. They even the reviewed food that they cooked in 2017. Okay. This food that we are serving them, the food they cooked. This one we've added honey and sugar. And they are crying like this. They should wait for more. This is just small thing and they are crying like this. They can go to hell.
I'm sorry, you can't say stuff like that on air. You're national television.
All right, I retract it. I withdraw that. But they are just being served with a reviewed food they cooked in 2017. You cooked this food. We told you didn't listen. You thought you were in power and then you will not handle over to date the next day and whatever. Then you are being served with reviewed one. This one we added sugar and honey. And you are crying.
So what exactly are you talking about? What are you talking about? What's the crux of your review this morning?
Yeah, revocation. The revocation of the appointment. They did it. Even the MPP do it.
Okay.
They did it. And so the food they cooked in 2017, we've reviewed it. And so now in the revision, we've added sugar and honey. And
okay, Hamza.
Like,
Thank you very so much. Yeah.
Hey, no be small cookies you are cooking here. Anyway.
You see how sweet it is when you speak English.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can also give us a call, 0302 211691. The numbers are on your television. Call us now and do have your say on the issues we've discussed. We're looking at the chaos that erupted at some centers where the Council of State elections were ongoing. Also, the raid at the residence of the former finance minister and the revocation of appointment post December 7. Let's go to Kumasi.
Yes, we have our second caller. Good morning. Tell us your name.
Of the workers. Because, NPP, they are good of doing certain things. So if they do, and the board reflects back on them, and they are crying, all this is happening in Ghana. It started 2001 when NPP took office. Things that they do. Professor Mays come and said that all of us, we should stop that. We are all Ghanaians. He let NPP appointments stay in office, others 6 months, others 9 months. When they come back to 2016, what did they do? What did they do? And you people, you journalists, you know everything. When NDC is acting now, you are the same people blaming NDC. If we are doing this, how can Ghana develop? Huh? You see, if we didn't tell people the truth, these things will be going on. And if you journalists allow these things to be happening, when it happens to me...
What are we allowed? What are we allowed?
It happened to 2021. Journalists were in this country. 2016, journalists were in this country. What were you advocating?
So what were you expecting us to do?
You have condemned in February. It should have stopped.
But are you sure we didn't condemn it?
No, talking it one day and leave it means that it happened.
Okay, all right. You've made your point. You've made your point. Thank you.
Comrade, we didn't get your name.
Yakubu Seidu.
Yakubu Seidu.
Grateful.
Thank you.
From Kumasi, let's go up and take it to...
Yeah, let's go to Wa. Good morning. Who's calling us from Wa?
Yes, good morning.
Please tell us your name.
My name is Martin. I'm calling from Wa.
Hi, Martin. Have your say.
Yeah, so I just want to add my voice to what is currently happening in Ghana, especially the issue of the revocation of the appointment or even the recruitment that happened. Honestly, I do not think that there's something wrong with it. With the greatest respect to the past administration, it was made very, very clear that there was going to be a silent withdrawal of those people that were recruited in the 2016. And at some point in time, we should have a stop to it. But there's a precedent that somebody told Ghanaians in our faces that there is no employment at the public sector, so we should look elsewhere. When the very people were involved in campaigning in 2016 that we should vote for jobs and other things. Why the rush at the end of the election and you are making recruitment of party faithfuls, of which people were massively brought into the system? And I think that the government hasn't done it. If they leave them, why are they going to get jobs for their own people? Why are they going to get jobs for their own people? So I think that it's in the right direction. People must be made to bear their own consequences. In fact, regrettably, they are my own colleagues who are youth looking for jobs. Out of their fault of no years that somebody has to do this to them. But we have to be very frank in what we do. That you did something in the past and you expect different things to be meted out to you this time. Honestly, I don't think that the government has done anything wrong.
Right.
We should learn it painfully so that next time, as a young people, we should know the very people that we vote for. They are amassing wealth for themselves. They should get money that they put for themselves to the youth that they have.
Thank you so much for calling. But let me draw your attention to the statement on your screens. That's all the way from 2017. And it talks about the withdrawal of recent staff recruitment for the National Service Scheme. What Kojo was telling you about right before we took that break. So there you have that statement, just so you can know that this is not the first time something of this sort is happening. Only difference, I think, is that this is more detailed.
Yeah, this gives a bit of details as to why the action is being done, because it says the petitions were sent to the Public Services Commission against the recruitment process.
Right.
You know, and the Service Commission also advised the then acting executive director not to do the recruitment, but he did it.
Yeah.
So, sort of.
Well, let's go to the northern region. We have a caller all the way there. Good morning. Tell us your name, please.
Good morning. My name is Imoro Al-Hassan.
Hi. Please have your say.
Hi, yeah. In fact, we just have to set up and change this constitution. These two political parties are messing us up. It doesn't just make sense to me, and people are vehemently defending this senseless act. How can
your voice is fading away, so maybe if you're moving, just stop so we can hear you.
Hello, I'm not moving, please.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, I'm saying that. How can we campaign with the promise of creating jobs, and you come and disappoint some people to appoint some people? For example, if they appointed 10 people, and you come and disappoint them and appoint 10 people, then we are standing at the same place. And this NDC MPP, they will never stop. One will do it today, and then they will be crying. The next time they also get the opportunity, they will do it. It's like we don't have brains. What is happening? And how do people feel this? How can you go to school complete and have the opportunity to be employed? And then when you are employed, somebody will come and say it is political. I thought government ends on the 6th of January. So I don't know where this is coming from and all that. So if they create a job for them, also come and create. There is so much job to be done. What is happening? Is it that we are just limited sitting at one place? Look at the Kumasi issue yesterday about the voting too. We are just intolerant. We are just violent people, just hiding and looking for opportunity to express it. What is that? Is that the only job? Is that the only way to express our anger? Oh, Ghana, where are we moving to? In fact, so all of us must sit up and go to the constitutional review to change all this. Okay. Otherwise, they will never stop. They will continue doing it, and it's senseless. It doesn't make sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
you had me at Ghana, because I mean, Kojo, Ghana. Ghana.
Someone says the process of recruitment in public service sometimes goes through a long route before they are actualized. Some of the appointment after 7 December may not be proper, but certainly not all of them. Organized labor must speak out and prevent any injustice that may arise from this exercise. It says injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Some of them have financial clearance and approval from the Public Service Commission. So why annul all of them? And to answer that question, Felix Kwachifosu was saying all of these appointments are marred with irregularities. But let's speak to our very last caller, calling us all the way from the Upper West region. Good morning. Tell us your name.
Good morning. I'm calling from Ernest.
Can you speak up?
I said I'm calling from Upper West region. Ernest.
Okay, have your say.
Yes. You see, the issue about the two political parties, and they are refusing to use the state departments. In the issue of labor department, people have to pass through those departments and get employed. We are only blaming them because they also need numbers to support their political parties. So I think that the state have to use the structures that were created by the 1992 Constitution to get people employed.
Right.
Yes. Other than that, this back or front of this political party will come, lay off people, this one will come, it will continue. So we have to go back to the drawing board. Use the state institutions that are rightfully employing people.
Thank you so much for calling, and that would be all the time we have for calls. And in fact, that's our time for the AM show. Kojo, it's been a good day. Yeah, it has certainly been. Hope that tomorrow will be same. Yeah. I've enjoyed myself, and I hope our viewers have also done the same. Okay. But you know what? I want to say that this is one country. We're all one people. No matter what, if there are processes for us to elect people, it is for you to use your thumb, not to go and engage in any chaos. So be mindful of what you do in this country. Yeah. Well, we are back on your screens tomorrow, same time, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. But for now, please stay because MFA Akosia Adeti serves you Joy News Desk. Bye for now.